Hey everybody, welcome to week fractal number 11.
Yeah, sorry. I think I just get used to like auto record once I get permissions here. Cause yeah, sometimes it's just like this is a meeting. I guess I probably could start at 8. That would probably be like I'll do it right on the clock, be punctual, and then everything beforehand can be kind of known. Um,
Sounds
like I
good.
guess yeah, maybe that'll be good. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt any conversations, but
No, no problem. But Nicholas just got left or something. I don't know what's up with that. Uh, but oh no, he's trying to get back. Hope everybody's doing well out there. We're just having some interesting conversations about work and life and balance and eating fractal. And Felix was saying how he loves getting up early in the morning and getting dressed and preparing, just like in the recap video for the Eat Fractal every Wednesday.
yeah. Yeah, and I appreciate that the NFT on a for the Eden Fractal on the Atomic Hob, Chris. I saw that, and how's your experience been so far with what's going on?
What, the NFTs? Well, I mean,
Yeah,
all I did was just, I mean, anybody can make NFT. I've made NFTs on Wax through Atomic Assets. So I mean, it's the same process on EOS, but I mean, anybody can make NFTs on Atomic Hub or Atomic Assets, I guess is the protocol, NFT protocol. But I know, I think having an account, you know, named properly and not coming from someone's personal account looks more professional. And then, you know, since it's like a generic term, I mean, maybe that account could be used for other fractal communities to issue NFTs. But I haven't made any yet, obviously. I mean, there's nothing listed or posted yet. Still coming up with ideas. And if anybody here has any graphics or anything I could use, or I mean, or other people can use the account and make stuff. I mean, I'm coming up with ideas. It's just maybe
okay.
for like participation NFTs for this fractal, or maybe for other events. I don't know. Just got to talk it out if people are interested.
Yeah, it's cool. I think we can be super creative with it. Like I like that idea of let's like I don't know, is it as basic as like if you have an image, you could upload an image up and then mint that NFT?
Yes, I mean, Atomic Assets makes it. I mean, it's kind of complicated unless they've changed it the past couple months. It's been like maybe 3 months since I've made one. You know, I mean, it's like you just follow the instructions. You know, you create like a collection name, and yeah, basically you upload some media file, typically images, but you can do videos and obviously like the Genesis I mean the Genesis Eden membership things, or you know, videos, you know, and images. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Plus there's tutorials online if you can't figure out how to use the Atomic Assets website. Plus there's other NFT protocols like Simple Assets and then other things, but I think sticking with Atomic Assets for the time being would be good, because that seems to be the biggest marketplace where people trade and buy and sell NFTs on EOS.
Right. Yeah. And I think where NFTs capture value too is just like you minted it for on occasion for like a meeting, right? So let's say a meeting is like ends up getting like, you know, I'm posting these videos, right? So like what if this like a certain meeting that we have an NFT for, and it may be super basic, it could be a super basic image that we upload, but then like if someone like let's say a meeting gets very like popular or whatever, that NFT then has more value because it was tied to this this meeting. And then that I think the way you can add more value to that NFT is by allowing the function to burn it to then like everyone who participated in this meeting, we all own that NFT. So we own that moment in time that's like kind of being valued. So then we could like repurpose the NFT where we're basically like, hey, well, we're gonna burn this NFT collectively and like upgrade it with a better artwork or a little bit with more metadata that would make the NFT actually more like the utility could be a little bit more valuable, right? And
Yeah, on that same line, I don't know if you're familiar with Top Shot, the NBA NFTs that became big last year. I got in there early and made some money, but I don't do that anymore. Where basically it's like what you're talking about. You know, you get moments from NBA games, like video clips of different plays and stuff. and people collect them and sell them and trade them. So I guess maybe that can be similar with these events, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, like you know, oh, Brendan Bloomer made an appearance at our Eden Fractal, and it's like, damn, we could capture that moment, be like, you know, start calling them names and stuff, and immortalize that, you know, and for the rest of human history on the blockchain.
Yeah, well, it's super exciting too, because it's like, yeah, if we all start thinking that like that across, like I think globally, right? When we're looking at cryptocurrencies and NFTs, now let's think about and this is where the true value is going to start to come within like the main chain that runs everything. Is the chain that people trust will have basically the history nodes that you can reflect, and then that data is decentralized to where like it can live on the internet forever. And then once that is established, yeah, everything we post on the internet and verify on the blockchain basically with your signature is now forever history, that has value, even if it's a tiny moment. It could not have any value even during your lifetime, but generations down the road, if that moment led to something big, then boom, that became like super valuable. And it's like, that's what's super exciting about like just the blockchain aspect of like foreverness, if we start thinking like that. But like I think the answer for that is like we really have to, which I think it'd be interesting to see with like, you know, the new fractal chain and the technology. The way I'm seeing this is basically communities can decentralize their infrastructure, and then I don't know, there's just ways I think that if communities work together, then you can start to build something that's more publicly accessible, and backed by communities, and then yeah, that's like kind of like the forever chain of history.
Yeah, I mean, imagine having some, I don't know, I guess it's a transaction on the blockchain. It's there, but you know, like the metadata, but like that first bit, you know, the first, I'm sure there was other ones, you know, like Silk Road on tour, you know, their currency was Bitcoin. So imagine that first transaction that actually proved the use case of Bitcoin. People actually exchanging Bitcoin for, you know, in this case, illegal merchandise, drugs and stuff. But imagine capturing that moment. I mean, that if it wasn't for Silk Road, there would be no Bitcoin. The crypto industry probably wouldn't be as big as it is. So I mean, that gave it a use case. Now we just got to find a use case for EOS and Eden.
Welcome everybody. Great to see Carlos and Vlad and Marco and Tadas and Dwayne and Jorge and Patrick. Thanks everybody for joining. Hope you're all doing well.
Hey everyone. Can you hear me?
Hey Tadas.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep,
Cool.
we can hear you well. Something that might be helpful to mention is that today is the last day of Pomelo, and there's lots of people in the Eden Fractal community who have great Pomelo pitches. So I encourage everybody to help support each other. And then also to Das, I just did an interview with Patrick and to Das about the albedo, and it sounds very interesting. So if anybody hasn't checked that out yet, then I would recommend reading it. To Das summarize it in like a short albedo in a nutshell paper that it's pretty quick to read, and it makes a lot of sense. So I encourage people to check that out. And also Marco shared the EOS Galaxy for briefings. So yeah, check that out too. Marco's doing great work with the briefings newsletter. And I guess we'll get started with the breakout rooms in like 8 minutes, but I guess there's not really an itinerary before then. So if anyone wants to talk about anything first, I guess feel free. There's also some topics that I'm excited to share too, but probably we'll share them for after the breakout rooms. Interested to hear what everybody thinks.
Yeah, cool. I'm pumped to, yeah, I think, you know, it might be beneficial to share some of the topics in case, like, obviously, I think, you know, everyone here usually ends up staying after the meeting, but I think it would be wise for everyone here to consider locking in 2 hours. You know, I mean, like I said, everyone here too, maybe this, you know, as we get more people to really start to encourage the post meeting part, because this is just the consensus part, and then afterwards is where the discussion and where we start to move as a fractal goes. Ideally, what we're wanting to work towards is like in the post discussion, we can start to break up the hour to like organize topics of conversation that we want to talk about, and then like keeping it like that just so we can respect everyone's time. And then afterwards, anyone who wants to stay afterwards can, like usually I end up staying in afterwards too, but there's going to be times I'm going to have to really lock in times where I got to go, and I can see that for everyone. Like that's just the best way for us to be efficient too, is to like say, okay, that hour post meeting is really business, and then afterwards then we can get a little bit more like philosophical and like hanging out and stuff. But ideally if we start to establish some like whatever's important for our community, right? And ideally that tying into like our roadmap, next steps, what are our members currently doing that we're interested in continuing to build, so that we can kind of start to lead and support different initiatives. Because it's one thing to say we need to do this, but if no one wants to do that, and especially because we're doing this right now a lot on our own, like willing time with not a ton of value or like monetary value coming back towards us, it needs to be around things that we're passionate to do, what we want to do. So I see you got your hands up, Tadas. What's up?
Yeah, I just had a thought last week that is relevant to what you're saying. I think it would be useful to have a process to reach consensus, not just on specific questions, but also to use, for example, interim consensus process to reach consensus on what topics to discuss next week, for example.
Yep.
That would make it a lot more organized.
Yeah, I know we've been talking about the interim process, and yeah, I was thinking similarly, like that would be awesome. Because the way I'm thinking about it right now, it seems like really we can break things up into 15-minute segments for the hour, 4 topics. Like we could do a brief like, and then we can really start to like, I don't know if granulize is the right way to describe what we would be doing, but like we can start to really like, this is where I can see the respect token having some actual utility, is like, then we can start to play with like, okay, if you really want to like talk and like share your ideas, like and like have a little bit more time. Like this is probably like way down the road, but this is kind of how I see things. Like potentially is like you could be able to pay for like some extended time, like everyone can have like equal amount of time to talk based off how we reach consensus on the different topics. But like I said, if we section them to like 15-minute topics, that helps us vote on things, and then it without trying to micromanage everything, though, is my biggest thing that we got to be careful, I think. But ideally it would be cool if we can start to kind of incorporate some incentive structure to basically respect everybody's time. I see you got your hands up, Marco.
Yeah, no, you're on target from what I see. The thing I would say, can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Oftentimes when we talk about techniques used in the past in blockchain, I would choose different words because they don't work exactly the same way. Better yet, there's better options. The NFT discussion Christian brought up, and then you followed up with, and the thing you just brought up now, instead of paying for more time, because the cult that brings in the culture of the old way of thinking. Keep the community, equal peer-to-peer, that whole field peer-to-peer, and instead use tokens as, some apps, so you're not going to be shocked by this. You present an idea, and then for further moving along, these tokens are available to provide energy, fuel, incentive along these ways. So you don't have to build a smart contract to leverage a network. Instead, you can, like fractally start with an idea, and then either promise the coins or the NFTs for the people to act on it and build that into the discussion. And that's not something you can do with regular money or credit on the internet the way it is, because you can't give ownership of that in certain things. So I don't know, maybe create a web page where if you log in there with your Eden ID, you automatically get points. And in there, you can move this discussion forward by specifically mentioning these words. So you're doing something different. You're doing something different because you can on blockchain, and at the same time, we're careful to not have the pay structure that is within non-peer-to-peer systems, if that makes sense. As far as the NFTs, the best way to, because I've been looking at NFTs since I tried to connect aviation back with my thesis back in the day. And I looked at NFTs in the way that you look at supply chain databases, and those things to make things easy for international corporations trying to move shipping goods around. You have the idea of you have a good leaving in, say, on the other side of the world. It's got to pass through customs on different places. Maybe it takes a plane at some point, but it's the same good. And because it's the same good, it's got to have an identifier that's tracked across the databases used by either different shipping companies, different aviation companies. So the analogy I like to use, imagine taking ownership of that good as soon as it comes off the assembly line, right? Now, the when people are deliver it, they're like entrusted with its security, like an expensive carrier, briefcase or something like that. Except you're not looking at how it's moving across the world. You're looking at how it's moving across databases. Blockchain makes this whole thing possible, and that everybody can write to the same database. Everybody could see what's happening in the same database with their own keys in real time, rather than ever being. Does make sense, because with NFTs you can program independently. You can assign an NFT to a good, and that good can have smart contracts written to it by different members of the database. Oh wow, I took up time. Sorry, guys.
That's all good, Marco. I followed some of it. Sorry, I'm still trying to prepare, but kind of my main things too, I kind of got out of it too, is yeah, I'm also was just kind of like brainstorming, but obviously I think it is yeah, wise to be very careful with I think what you're saying is kind of like charging for like to be able to speak with a
Not
respect.
charging, using like Pomelo uses Pomelo has NFTs on there. They don't really do anything, but they show up there and you log in with your wallet. So not only do you log in with Anchor, you're also logging in with those NFTs. You can make it that you need Anchor to log into one part, and then you have the NFTs to log into somewhere else. And people who want to continue a discussion or something live, you just assign an NFT to give them a private room or something. But it's just to look at things differently than normal. It's just to not bring in the old culture into the blockchain culture. Let blockchain culture live as a peer-to-peer system.
Okay, guys, we're a minute over time right now, so I think this is an interesting conversation where we should probably get to the breakout rooms and then we can continue it afterwards. Sound good? Cool. So I'll start the breakout rooms now. Hope that everybody has a great time. We have 2 breakout rooms, so I'll create, and yep, enjoy everyone. Hey everyone, good to see you.
Long time no see.
Long time no see.
Looks like we've got a heavyweight room. Battle of the heavyweights.
A lot of great contributors here. Always good to see.
Well, you can leave me out of that equation.
I wouldn't say that, Chris. I wouldn't say that at all. You've been
Well-
contributing a lot lately.
Well, maybe in the future.
Oh,
I mean-
you've got a haircut, which is different from one of your profile. I recognize you with longer hair.
Who, me?
Yeah. Don't
Well, I
you have
noticed that. Well, yeah, I had long hair, but then like for the first fractally meetings, I had long hair, and then I got a haircut. Nobody said anything. I guess nobody pays attention.
They thought you disappeared.
Okay.
It looks cool. I've noticed. I haven't said anything. I've been busy, but I do think that your hair looks cool, and I've been silently appreciating Chris. Okay, should we get into contributions, or anybody like to share anything else about Chris's hair? Or any other topics first?
We were room 2, right?
I think so. Let me check out the breakout room thing. Good question.
Yeah, I
Yes, we're
forgot to do that.
yes, we're room 2. Yep.
Okay. All right, sweet. Yeah, anyone want to volunteer to go first, or if not, I can go. Okay, I'm gonna take that as I'll go. All right. Sorry, I'm kind of scrambling a little bit here. So yesterday, or I guess past week, I mean, you guys, I think everyone here knows the YouTube channel. I don't want to keep going through the same pitch every single week, or like sharing the same thing, but let me share my screen. I'll kind of show you guys what I'm working on. So yeah, Dan Singjoy and I met what was that, yesterday? No, 2 days ago. And yeah, he helped me. So I'm taking over the responsibility right now of like kind of proposing the M6 so that we can get the distributions out. I'm gonna aim. I think it would be good to get it done the day of. This is something we can all talk about afterwards. Unless something comes up, it doesn't have to be set in stone, but as long as everything's good and cleared, I'm gonna run that, like, based off our consensus results. I'll post the MSIG, and then yeah, so we can get paid basically that same day. I think that'd be cool. And then yeah, just being consistent with that. So I know Dan and James have been pretty busy, so yeah, I don't mind picking that up. It's kind of cool because it's getting me messing with code, even though it's like very simple. It gets me excited because I did do computer science in high school, so I did find a temporary passion there. And so if I dive down this rabbit hole, who knows what it can bring, and I think it'd be cool. I'm excited. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm working on. Yeah, the current issue with the last week was, I guess, we proposed the MSIG, but I had the Eden.ƒractal, and then Vlad was saying that the contract can't distribute to the well, I guess this is the new one that I'm trying to propose, but the issue that I got was the name exists with the other proposal. So I went and looked at that, which I guess we'd have to cancel it. I guess there's no way to like resubmit the proposal, but without getting too deep into that, I can ask Vlad afterwards. But that's kind of what I'm working on right now. So we can get week 10 out, and then week 11 will get done today as well. That's the plan. And then and yeah, so that's mainly probably my I would say the direct contributions this last week that I'll share. So yep. And so Chris is next on my screen, so I'll nominate you to go next.
Well, my contributions since last week been pretty small. You have any questions? Please ask.
Yeah, so you did the NFT. Talk to that. That's a contribution, right?
Okay.
Because
Okay.
I see us using that.
Well, yes, I created an account. I thought it would, because there's been people that make NFTs. I guess Chuck was making NFTs for the Eden Fractal, which I never got one, by the way. But and I figured it might be nice if there was like one generic account, instead of people minting NFTs under their personal accounts, that we had like a community account we can make NFTs from for this Eden Fractal and maybe even other fractals in the future. So I set that up and going to start coming up with ideas. Maybe we kind of like they do for the fireside chat. You get those pop tokens, but these could be like participation NFTs. But then I guess also, I don't know if some, like Felix was talking about before this started, maybe moment NFTs. Like if something happens, we can create something, be it a video or an image or something, to memorialize something. I'm just babbling on right now, but oh no, basically, I would like to take the initiative in this group and work on the NFT side of things if people are interested in that, and then maybe contribute some media, be it video or images or anything that we can incorporate into the NFTs. And of course, I'll be using unless other people have objections, the Atomic Assets Protocol NFT to make NFTs. And they can always be backed with other assets. If you want to do it like that, and to access them, you got to burn the NFTs. So I was thinking, like, since people get awarded EOS for this thing, maybe just backing the NFT with that. And if they want access to those funds, they can burn it. I don't know. I'm just
I like
babbling
that
on.
idea a lot, because that makes us like part of me was thinking is like, so we're distributing EOS within this fractal. Let's lock it up. Let's show that, hey, we're holders of EOS and we're not going to sell, because we can build this little bit. And this is starting to build our mutual pool of like a liquidity pool, kind of, right, of tokens that we're staking to this fractal is a way we can kind of perceive it, right? Backing them in NFTs is a way, and the whole NFT thing is super exciting. So yeah, Chris, I'm glad you're cool with taking that initiative, and I don't see a reason why we can't. Yeah, I'll support that. And then basically we can be creative week to week. One week we could, I know Dwayne's got he introduced a cool project that I'm involved in as well, the LD2 token. So that's backed with real silver. So pairing that one week could just draw in new people, attract new people, just for like, hey, this week we're going to give an NFT that's backed by a silver, and it can be random or something we can do to make it fun to attract people so that we don't have to deploy a ton of EOS right away. But then also that's always something too. One week, if we were like, hey, like we want to have like a big turnout, let's incentivize some people to come by like having a prize pool of like, a raffle or something with like so much EOS that's going to be tied to an NFT. And yeah, I think the NFT routes adds so much value. So yeah, Chris, I'm not gonna let you like go without saying some of the value you've added, because that's a good initiative.
Speaking of silver, I'm a silver stacker myself. In fact, I just sold 20 ounces yesterday because I needed some money. So I'm all about the silver. I prefer silver over gold. It's prettier. But, okay, I mean, and then I talked about a couple weeks ago, the Eden Fractal website. Dan is working on that, but I don't know. In my personal life, but as with all of us, you got stuff going on, and I'm starting a new job soon, so I'm kind of doing what I got to do to get that started, and hopefully soon, I can spend a lot more of my free time working on this stuff. But for sure, that NFT stuff at a minimum, I want to work on, and then hopefully over time contribute more. And if anybody, like I said, if anybody has any media files, images or graphics or anything that we could use, you can send them my way and try to incorporate them somehow. Okay, thank you. Dwayne, you're next.
Hey, good day, everybody. Had a few days off, was offline for a few days. I will put up, in case you haven't seen it, just this NFT backers. So for the Alien Worlds NFTs and tokens, we're backing, usually this NFT backers is just looking to back NFTs with their silver coin, but we twisted their arm to allow Trillium. So we're backing our Alien Worlds NFTs with Trillium, and then going to twist their arm a little bit more to do a blend. And when you blend, you lose your back tokens. So in this case, you would blend and give up your Trillium and get one NFT backed by silver. So a bit of a gamification, but yeah, I agree with Felix. I kind of like the ways we can, stake or hold or lock up our EOS would be fun. And everything NFT is kind of fun. I know that one of the stories last week about gamification of NFTs, it was on Alien Worlds, but it was frenemies. It was competing landowners, and our friend instigated a tool for them to see which one of your kind of personal NFTs you could drop on one of their lands. So it's like this false, it was just kind of funny. It just kind of created this fun kind of competition because everyone's kind of enemies. You're campaigning on opposite lands to mine on your land. So it just created this fun kind of, ongoing, little, game, right? So anything we can do like that, that's fun. And I think, yeah, Chris taking the initiative to do NFTs, awesome. Because over time we're going to start seeing, other people do that, right? Starting to make some fun interactions. And but besides, for what I've contributed this week to specifically EOS and Eden, really showing up to the meeting. I've been focused on a couple other things. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. And next to me or under me is Tadas.
I'd like to cut in. You mentioned NFTs again. I just wanted to say, I've said this before. I'm not really a fan of NFTs with no utility, but in this case, what I'm referring to is non-utility NFTs. Until we can find a use case for them, obviously we can back them with some sort of asset, but I don't know. Kind of like Alien Worlds is a very good example of utility-based NFTs, but I don't know how we can. Okay, I'll just leave it at that. But we can discuss that in the future.
Yes. Hello, everyone. So, yes, so for those of you who maybe don't know, I've been working on a project named Albedo. I already shared it in a group chat, Pomelo grant to it, and the white paper. So, basically, it introduces a mechanism which would empower communities, fractal communities like Eden Fractal, to influence underlying chain governance and create an incentive loop where BPs, block producers of the underlying chain, would be incentivized to support fractal contributors. Another benefit that it could bring would be more attention to Fractal, to Eden Fractal, because token holders would be incentivized to watch these meetings and or participate in them in order to stake for the right contributor. So without maybe I won't go in too much into the details of how that's achieved, but you can read my post on Hive where I explain it in a more simple terms. Specifically this week, I spent some time promoting this idea, sharing it, participated in Pomelo Twitter Spaces pitch sessions where I pitched the idea. Later, I had an interview with Patrick and Dan, where again we talked about Albedo idea. It's a interview hosted by Patrick for EOS.io Swiss workshops, and it should be published August 23rd. So if you want to learn more about it, I share some interesting details about the background of this idea. And I also been researching modular blockchain architectures, other projects that utilize these architectures, because I propose in the white paper to use this kind of architecture. So I'm looking at the most bleeding edge tech currently in blockchains to see if I could use some of it. And that's all from me this week.
Sweet. Thanks, Tadas. Quick thoughts on that. I like that you did it in a nutshell. I know I still got to reach out to you and so we can do a video, because I've when you briefly talked on your idea, like I know and obviously the amount of time you put into it too. I know there's something there too. So I think it'll help with also because I think it's very complex, and so the nutshell is going to help be a little bit more digestible. And for me, the next best thing is always going to be media. So yeah, we definitely need to create something. And so when I get some time, I still want to set something up for that, if you're cool with that.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree. And yeah, next on my screen would be Barry. I'm not sure what your name is. Barry or that's a surname.
No, Perry is my first name. Perry is my first.
Okay.
My last name is Sheenus. Sheenus. Yeah. Yeah, but I might as well change my last name to dnews.zone. So, yeah, I'm Perry, dnews.zone. Yes, that's my new name. And my new job is a salesman. I've been a developer for 30 years, but it seems like Fractally has turned me into a salesperson. So that's kind of like my nightmare, to be honest. I've never really seen myself as a salesperson. So, but I've always been able to communicate the things I'm passionate about. So that's why this is working, and that's why I accept it. I am passionate about DNews. It really embodies a lot of the things that I have grown to understand over the years. And it's a direct address of the media. There are many ways to look at what I've created. And I know all you guys are familiar with it, so I won't go into all the details, but I'll go into a little background of why I created it. It's really a counter, in my mind, it's a counter to all the manipulation that occurs on all the platforms. And if you're a decentralized community seeking consensus, it's helpful that everybody is seeing the same media, where we all have the same raw materials to form an opinion or opinions and consensus. So what the reality today is that all of us have different feeds into our various platforms that we participate in, YouTube, articles that you can find, podcasts. All of our feeds are different. So creating a single feed, at least in the case of DNews, a single feed that is directly from the sources. So there's no manipulation. I'm not changing who sees what, when. You can always come back to DNews and review and keep scrolling down, or do an easy full text search, which includes all the text inside the article, even though you never see the article on DNews. So if somebody posts an article and it's listed, you'll never read it on DNews. You'll notice that. When you click on it, you go directly to the source. However, the whole thing is stored on my site, and I only use that to conduct a full text search across all the sites at the same time, which is not something you would find unless you go to Google. But then at Google, you are subject to their manipulation. So this is one of the problems that I've been addressing, and DNews is the answer. And I guess now also, since there's at least three hosts of events, I'll just very briefly describe one of my intentions, which is to create a role for event hosts. So a role for Dwayne, a role for Dan, a role for Felix, where you simply have a login to my website, and whenever you decide you want to change or add an event, or even delete it, it's just no longer, that particular event is no longer active, you'll have a place to come in and log in and maintain that event. It's not the kind of thing that's going to create a huge amount of commitment, but it'll have a lot of positive effect, because people will be able to go in and see accurate, timely information about events. So that's one direction that I'm going with DNews. In addition to now taking those events and creating a broadcast network that other websites can read, and then they can place those events as if they were ads on their own website. So our community isn't big enough. We don't have enough traffic to really justify, a Google making any money on Google ads. So that's not really practical. But what is practical is that we expose the people that do come to our websites to the things that are important to us, which are the meetings like this one right here, and the ones that Dwayne has, and all the meetings that Dan and Felix are creating. So the combination of those two things is where I'm going. And the last week, what I've done is I've basically worked on bugs in preparation for beginning to do that, to implement that. I've implemented that on another website of another client that I have for their business, which is completely unrelated to crypto. It's a hotel here in Costa Rica that I've done it for. So I'm going to basically just, so I know it works. It's workable. So I'm preparing for that. In addition, this week I also added, as I do every week, and it seems like every day I add a little bit of something. I added new sources for James Mart, a few for Jenna Rios, for Jimmy, a couple for Zeos, one for the channel itself, one for Mateus himself, his own Medium account, one for Trust EVM, P Network, Wombat, Ruan for Stan himself, and then I participated in a few meetings. I participate in the Friday Helios meeting, as well as usually the Sunday. And now it looks like I've incorporated this meeting into my routine, even though it's way too early for me. This is too early for me, guys, especially in this town where I live, where Taco Tuesday is a weekly ritual. So I'm giving up my Taco Tuesday because there's no way I could be here at this hour. Well, you may see me here one day or a few days at Taco Tuesday. So here we are. Thank you very much. That's my stuff. Thanks, guys.
Cool. Thanks, Perry, for the great work and for going without Taco Tuesday for us, waking up early. Much appreciated. And then, yeah, thank you everybody for the great contributions. Of course, we only have like 16 or 17 minutes left, so I'll try to go pretty quick here. I don't set a timer. And there's quite a bit of stuff here, but I'll just give you a brief overview. So I've been working a lot on the websites. So this is the Eden ƒractal website. I haven't really changed anything for that this week. But this week, just this morning, I put out a tweet after Felix proposed the MSIG for the distributions from week 9. So that's there. And I shared it in a bunch of channels. And I also encourage a bunch of people in the channels. I post like 8 channels, the grant that Felix put up, and then I put up another tweet from Eden ƒractal for the Eden ƒractal developers. I'll talk more about Eden ƒractal developers more. And I also recorded the video from last week and put up the video I put up on Eden Creators channel and the video that Felix put up on the videos, edenpractal.com/videos. I also finally got my grant approved for Eden Creators on Pomelo. So I would appreciate everyone's support, and I made a tweet and shared it in a bunch of different channels. It's very related and supportive of Eden ƒractal and EOS in general. Retweeted a nice tweet from Marco about that, and then yeah, you can read that at pomelo.io/grants/Eden Creators, and there's a lot of description about just things that I've been doing with Eden Creators in general for the past months and years and so forth. And then I also, just last night, I contributed about 90 EOS worth to a bunch of different projects, doing great work in EOS. I've been keeping a list, and I added a bunch that were cool there. I won't show you them all, but supporting projects in the community on Pomelo. edencreators.com. I think probably most people have seen it here, but the homepage I updated a couple weeks ago, and it's kind of simple with some buttons for events and videos and blog and stuff like that. But I won't go over it here. I spent some time fixing or improving the edencreators.com/Eden ƒractal page. So now it looks a bit better. And some of this I did last week, but then some of it I just refined, or quite a bit I refined this week as well. So about how you can learn more and what is Eden ƒractal and how you can accomplish more. And then I have a bunch of sub blog posts here about just like Eden ƒractal videos and fun events and tooling, and how Eden ƒractal creates public goods for the community, and a bunch of more posts that are all kind of in development and so forth. But just to provide like an introductory place for people to learn about it in addition to the website, but with much more details on the website. And then there's this article about how Eden Fractal provides public goods to the EOS community that I started writing last week. And again, I just made a couple minor refinements to this page, but I made some refinements to other pages in it, like tooling. So tooling, I worked on quite a bit this week. I added, as I was on call with Felix to help him with learning MSIG, I made an admin documentation page for administrators of the Eden Fractal, or I suppose the Alien Worlds Fractal, or any other Fractal could use that too to do the manual processes. And then I just wrote more about the tooling and how it empowers communities. And I included the video and did some timestamps from the fireside chat with Eve last week. And then I also added a Fractal UI demo and wrote about it a bit, and then added the previous user interface mockup that Vlad put together and Lenore put together a couple months ago as well, to just provide more detail for Eden Fractal developers. I'm going to be working to I've been working on a campaign to raise funding for Eden developers, so I'll show that in a moment, but I'll go quick. This is a documentation for how people can manually process transactions as admins of Eden Fractal smart contracts. And then, yeah, I started putting together a big, most of it hasn't been added to the website yet, but this is just kind of a draft of like why fund Eden developers. I'm making a campaign, and I bought the domain edendevelopers.org, and I'm planning to donate most of my budget as a chief delegate to Eden developers, and then make a request to the ENF to fund more. And so I put together a page about why it makes sense for Eden developers and so forth. I'm almost at 4 minutes, so I'll wrap it up quick. And then I also talked about retroactive public goods funding and the moral case for funding Eden developers, and started featuring Vlad's work and more Eden developers like Tadas and so forth. So there's a lot there. I also start talking about Eden Fractal IBC, which I think is a big selling point for Eden Fractal, because Dan Larimer talked about how Fractally enables IBC a lot. I also talked a bit about promise and smart contract theory, which ties into retroactive public good funding. And then I co-hosted an interview and helped start up a YouTube channel and made some artwork for the new Zeos channel. And then I also talked at the Eden Chief Delegate call this week, or last week, that was posted. And then this week I shared a presentation in addition to the plan for the Fund Eden Developers Initiative. Sorry, it's a bit out of order, but and then I also co-hosted the town hall, where we spoke about that plan, as well as did an interview in AMA with Matthias Schoenbeck, founder of EOS and Zeos Fractal and Zeos. And then I also participated and shared a lot of interesting ideas, I think, during the Helios Rising discussion. I promoted Eden Fractal and EOS at the Genesis Fractal meeting. And then for EOS Nation, I also hosted the hot sauce and participated in the rapid fire pitch session and wrote the Everything EOS weekly report. So that's my contributions for the week. Thank you. Sorry for the longer presentation.
All right,
Fire hose
sweet deal.
as usual.
What's that, Perry?
It's a fire hose presentation as usual. Just can't believe how quickly you speak. It's hard to keep up with.
Yeah.
It's hard to comprehend how quickly you're thinking to speak that fast.
Well, I hope it's not too much or too overwhelming. There's a lot that I'm trying to get through in a small amount of time. So, and I'm like constantly working on this.
At my limit. It's right there at my limit.
Okay, cool. Pedal to the metal, I guess, right at the edge or something.
Those EOS hot sauce skills come into play.
Yeah, I get a lot of practice.
All right, well, sweet. So I think we should establish how we want to vote, if we're voting for ourselves or not. This is something that I've been thinking a lot about. Fractally, I vote for myself over there because in the second round, when I get in there, it's a little different because I'm also voting for the team. But here, I've kind of removed myself. I do think it is valuable to first remove and then advocate for yourself afterwards, so we can kind of see where everyone's at. Without advocating for yourself, because that does add noise if you're voting for yourself. And I see that aspect. I really do think it does add noise to a certain extent. But again, we have to reach consensus. If we're not going to reach consensus on that, then I will vote for myself. That's kind of how the angle I'm wanting to kind of approach it, but open to hear feedback on this too.
I think we only have about 10 minutes left, so we should decide this quickly. And so I vote that people can vote for themselves, but I don't really care very much either way.
Okay.
I'm okay either way. Yeah. My intuition tells me not to do that, but if we're gonna do it, then yeah, I certainly want to vote for myself. So.
But we're talking the ability to vote for yourself, not necessarily that you will. I mean, you can.
Sorry, didn't
I think
catch
you
that.
should declare it though, so everyone knows everyone's intentions. Because if you're like, for example, I mean, I don't know, we could dive into it and I could tell you like how I would choose to go, or we could just go about it. But for me, if like we declare, I'm gonna vote for, like if we declare to vote for yourself, I'm gonna vote for myself. If we're not though, I'm gonna vote for somebody else. And then I will advocate though, depending though on how this room reaches consensus, because I want to first see where everyone's mind's at. And then if I'm like, oh, well, it was a unanimous decision for somebody else, then maybe I need to reconsider voting for myself because I was wrong. I took everyone's data first before I formulated my opinion. That's where I think it adds noise when you vote for yourself, because you're not taking in all the data from the room. You're first sharing your data. And so I don't think you can reach consensus until you see where the room's consensus is leaning towards before you add noise. Because like, you know, I could be vocal and I could really push and I can sway people to vote for me. But then that is adding noise to the system. And that I think is a flaw that Jorge is like kind of really trying to address. And it's not just Jorge too. I think the noise aspect is potentially being amplified over on Fractally because we are doing the teams. And last week I had a hard time reaching consensus because of doing so.
I think that there's more noise introduced by talking about it. Like, so far we've already addressed this for 3 minutes, and like we only have 8 minutes or 7
Well, I know,
minutes.
so we got to declare that it was a simple yes, declare no, but no in between, yes or no, and then we move forward. And then there is no discussion.
I voted yes for the ability. I don't think that we
Okay.
should have to declare
That's
whether we vote for ourselves
that's
or
an
not.
in between though.
That's not the discussion, Felix. The discussion is just whether you have the ability to do it. There's no
I
there's
think
no
it's
necessity
beating
to
around the
declare if you're gonna
bush,
vote
to
for
be
yourself.
honest, but that's fine. I mean, I guess, how do we want to go about it then?
On 3, thumbs up or thumbs down, everybody. 1, 2.
We're voting for ourselves.
Yeah, if you want to vote for yourself, it's a thumb up. If not, it's a thumb down.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 3. I can't see you, Felix.
Okay,
Here it is. Okay.
I feel like I don't know. If I
Oh
just do
God.
thumbs up.
Oh, we suck.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, with that input, I will be voting for myself because I think that if we have a thumbs up, then we're fine with voting for ourselves. And even though it could be indifferent, that's kind of how I'm interpreting that. So that's a declaration there. I think it's important to declare that because that shows where your intent is.
But most of us had that thumbs down, so I think consensus is that we don't vote for ourselves. We don't allow vote.
If you guys were to
Yeah.
switch your declaration, but Dan's kind of like either way, so
Okay,
it
let's
has
just
to be
switch
a
it.
definitive yes or
I,
no.
I really just think that this conversation just gets in the way of just reaching consensus because we're not talking about each other's contributions. We're talking about voting for ourselves. I think that that's
But
not very helpful.
this is part of the process, Dan.
And so I'm switching it to make it so that my vote is that we can't vote for ourselves.
Yeah, me too.
Okay,
That's
cool. That works.
how I think.
Okay, I like that.
Okay.
Okay, sweet.
Okay, is everybody ready?
Yep.
Okay.
Thumbs up when you're good.
3, 2, 1, go. Okay, thank you, everybody. I think we have consensus on me.
Okay. Okay. That's yeah, that's fair. It's unanimous. My thing. Yeah, that's fine. I don't want to take too much time, but okay. Well, no, that's 3 Dan, 1 Dwayne, 1 Tada. So that's not consensus.
Or
That's a 3.
There's 4 for me, Felix.
Yeah, 4 for Dan.
Okay. Okay, my bad. Okay, yeah. We'll talk about that later. This is interesting. I like this experiment that we're doing here.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Level 5, I guess.
Is everybody ready for level 5? 3, 2, 1, lift off. Okay, It looks like there's not consensus. Tadas has 2 votes, and Dwayne, Felix, Perry, and Chris each have 1 vote.
Okay,
I see
Yeah,
only
let's-
one vote.
I'm okay
myself.
to, I can, do in the interest of time and I'll bow to Tadas and let him have it this week. I'm willing to accept that. Just
So
to
that's
keep-
a 3-2 split. I'm gonna advocate for myself. I think I should have been higher. I've taken over duties of like getting us paid. That's why I was advocating for the top spot. But since we're short on time, I don't want to advocate for the top spot because the consensus was reached there, though there was some swing room, but we're limited to time. So I'm fine with that, but I am advocating for myself. So I'm not voting, but I'm advocating I need to be higher because I'm taking actions that's pushing us forward. That's how I feel. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I voted for you, so I agree with that as well.
So Felix, I appreciate that a lot. The actual like submission of the consensus stuff, as you know, doesn't take a huge amount of time, but it's very much appreciated, and also hopefully you're doing sooner. And we also did talk about it for a long time, and there's a lot of training. I mean, Tadas is also just pushing it forward a lot. Like I learned a lot about the albedo proposal this week, and so just like seeing how that can really help the future of Eden Fractal and EOS. That's why I ranked or voted for Tadas there. But
Okay.
you guys are both doing great contributions, but that was my reasoning.
And so
So-
my counter, if you want to go, Tadas, go ahead.
Yeah, so we have 2. I see only 1 vote for myself and 2 or 3 for Felix.
Dwayne
Uh,
and myself both voted for you, Tadas, and then I think Perry said that he was willing to change to you too. I think, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I was
I'm not
willing to do that in the interest of time, but we
I
burned up.
don't see.
time.
Yeah, I
Uh,
don't see Dwayne's vote. Anyway, I switch my vote to Felix if that helps.
Okay.
But I don't know if that helps.
Okay. Well, we only have like 2 minutes left. So let's
Okay,
try to
and
do really
yeah, I'll
quick
give my
here.
counter real quick. So yes, I appreciate Tadas's contributions, but Dan, also we shouldn't have been 2 weeks behind. That's why I'm taking that priority. That's important that we get paid out. It is a simple task. That's why I've taken over it. And I'm fine with doing that. But that's important. That is professionalism with Eden Fractal, and that's my contribution that I'm bringing as a leader and taking those initiatives, and that needs to be respected. It makes me feel some type of way that, that's not being taken into consideration.
It's all being taken into great consideration. It's all respected, Felix. I mean, just
I
because
get that. I
being
get that,
respected
but-
at level 4 or 5 is both being
I know,
respected
but
greatly.
I think I should be number 6, just being straight up right now, because I took that task from you, Dwayne, Dan, and that was something that should have been like, we need to begin those out the day that they get posted. So I took the initiative to reach out to you. I was going to do that with James. I did it with you. So the reason we got paid week 9 was because I took that initiative. So I think rightfully so, I should be 6. And again, this kind of makes me want to advocate again for 6.
I mean, Felix, I also was planning on doing it yesterday. I greatly appreciate it, but then I also did spend
I know, but actions speak, man.
an hour doing with you and an hour preparing the documentation beforehand, as well as a bunch of other stuff as well. But I think that's decided if everybody's cool, because we do have to move on. Currently, rank for level 5, Tadas has 2 and Felix has 2. I'd still prefer to vote for Tadas because I think that Tadas did great work, and also I think Felix, sometimes you push a bit too hard in advocating for yourself. I appreciate the fire and like the lion flash, but I also appreciate Tadas's kind of laid back style, and I think sometimes that's more helpful. So I'd be willing to vote for Felix, and I obviously so much appreciate your work, Felix. And then also you didn't mention the Zeos interview too, so that's also huge. So maybe for that also, I'm happy to switch my vote for Felix too, because I wasn't accounting that, but Felix did an awesome job editing and doing that last minute. So I'll change my vote to Felix.
And also to add real quick, I'm taking time out of my day job, which I'm getting 70 an hour. I'm not getting that here. I'm taking a risk by being here. I'm not charging
Okay.
70 an hour here as well. So
Felix, I switched my vote too, so I think you have
Uh,
So you have
But to be honest, I want to
Okay.
advocate for 6. I'm not going to feel happy if I don't get 6.
no look. It's not just
Felix, we're
about
already over time.
importance of
I
work.
know, but
Yeah.
this is kind of where I feel like I'm at because of how discussion has led. I'm just going with my passion right now. If it gets me in trouble, it gets me in trouble. But this is just how
Yeah,
I feel.
But we already reached consensus 4
That's-
out of 6. Yeah. Unless I guess you can switch your vote, but
Okay, so Dan is top, then Felix, and then who? And then we're for the next level 4. Is that where we are?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Okay. Is everybody ready?
Okay, what's going on? I haven't been paying attention. I mean, I've been listening. I just don't know what the agreement has been.
we're currently a minute over already, and we really need to wrap it up. And so we're at level 4 right now. So is everybody ready to submit level 4? 1, 2, 3, go. Okay. It looks like we also don't have much consensus here. Somebody hasn't submitted yet, I think. Okay,
And
Chris.
to Das, looks like you're sending. No.
So DOS says 2. Technically, how we're doing it, Chris, this way is where you can't vote for yourself. So if you had to vote for somebody else, then who would you vote for?
But Tadas is voting for you again, and you're already elected.
No,
I'm
Tadas voted
voting
for Perry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine is showing that Tadas just voted for Dan.
Yeah, something is
Weird.
off with the chat. I didn't see Dwayne's message for place number 5, so something is off with the chat here.
Okay, I'm not following along, but go ahead. That's okay.
Okay, so currently Chris is voting for Chris voted for Tadas now. So Tadas has 3 votes, and then Dwayne and Perry each have 1 vote, and Chris has 1 vote. Is anybody willing to switch the vote?
I'm gonna say, I have to say this, just that I have not been paid twice on this, for this meeting. So the first time I let it go, but the last week I was here, I didn't get paid. I just noticed it was posted and my name wasn't on it. I haven't checked my account, but maybe the problem is you guys don't know my EOS account. So I'm not sure who was doing that. If you were doing that last week, I didn't get paid.
If you're talking about last
Guys.
week, that I'm working on that one. That one had an issue because the eden.fractal was at the end of the MSIG. But again, it should have been done after the meeting.
But somebody posted the results, right?
Yeah, guys, I have to interrupt as the host. We really don't have time to talk more. I'm going to hit the close rooms button in 10 seconds. That'll give us a minute and 10 seconds. I'm going to submit what I think it should be. And if we don't reach consensus, then nobody will get anything. So I propose that we go to Das, Perry, Dwayne, Chris. Does anybody have any objections set?
Yeah, I object.
Okay, then please share it. I don't know if you want to do it a different way, but
Maybe let's just vote and see. Maybe we have 4 out of 6 for what.
Yeah, I'm
going
gonna put my list, I think, and you guys can choose that one as well.
how about we just do level 4 again, and then we reach consensus. So
these are the votes that I'm willing to cast in that order.
No, maybe the quickest way would be to just let's raise our hands who agree with Dan's final.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to
level.
include you, Tadas. I would put you.
Chris, I'm in agreement with Chris here. I think maybe the simpler thing is rather than doing the 4 at once, just do it again, and we'll just do it super quick. Because really, as a host, I have a responsibility to not let this go for longer. And right now, I'm not letting that happen. So we really don't have time to discuss this. So level 4, if everybody's ready, then we'll just do it really quickly. And I'll vote for Tadas.
So I think Chris, he provided direct value to the Eden Fractal this last week by creating the NFT. That's why I'm going for Chris. Again, I appreciate everyone's contributions, but it's directly to the Eden Fractal of what you're doing to push this forward. That's how I'm voting. And I'm sorry I got passionate about things, but that's just kind of how I'm sitting.
The Albedo press was also directly for the Eden Fractal too, by the way, Felix.
But I get it and I respect it too, but like directly, like
Or relates
how does
very
it have
closely.
the like actionable, like you can point to it like that directly?
Well, it will fund the Eden Fractal. It's a way to fund the Eden Fractal.
Oh, and like I said, it's tough. I respect your actions too, but if we're going by a week by week basis too, we're supposed to look at like what you did in the prior week.
All right,
Again,
guys.
also I need to look at consensus, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm stirred up because
Felix,
again,
if you hold us back, then none of us will get anything right now. That's how it goes.
Yes.
okay, so where are we at? Sorry.
Right now, Tadas has 3 votes, and also he can't vote for himself. So I would say that Tadas has consensus.
That's not a guaranteed rule. We didn't, but again, if that is, sorry, sorry,
Okay.
I'm creating noise. See, this is the problem when you, yeah, perhaps I am because I'm advocating for myself, but also wanting to kind of vote. And all of this has created noise in my head. It's caused emotion to come out of me and it's affecting consensus.
Yeah, and we should make consensus because we're taking way too long right now. So I'd say that from here on out, we enable Tadas and everybody to vote for themselves in the interest of reaching consensus. Tadas, are you willing to vote for yourself?
Yes, and I think Chris is voting for me, so I think.
Okay, cool. So we have consensus on Tadas at level 4 and level 3. I will go and is everybody ready for level 3? And 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, it looks like
I'm willing to switch to Perry, but first I voted for Perry, and I was back and forth between Perry and Chris, so I
Okay.
switched to Perry.
See, that's my bad, but
okay. So it looks like we have consensus on Perry. He's got 3 out of 4, and I guess if he's willing to vote for himself, then that's 4. Cool. Level 2, and we've got like 40 seconds left or something, or 36 seconds left. Is everybody ready?
Who's left? I've lost track.
Chris and Dwayne.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, looks like we have consensus. Finally, thanks for the great meeting, everybody. That was intense.
Good job, Dan.
Thank you. You too, Perry.
Got to the point where I just wasn't caring anymore.
Yeah, it got intense.
I felt that a little bit, Chris, not gonna lie.
What is
Well,
that?
I mean,
Put a lot of time, taking a lot of sacrifices here. And sometimes like I don't know, that it makes me question things a bit.
Why were you guys dismayed?
Well, it's gonna be interesting. The recording will be posted. Right now, I'm kind of emotional because of how it went. Now, I'm sure there's things I'm wrong about. I got tight. The emotion got pulled out of me, but a good way to kind of summarize is noise was introduced into the room.
It's not. I wouldn't call this noise. It's just different perspectives clashing, and I don't see. To say that it is noise, you basically have to assume that there is an objective way to evaluate everyone's contributions. But I would argue there is no objective way to evaluate different contributions, human contributions like that. It depends on everyone's value system,
and that's why it's our job. And the thing is too, I started thinking though ahead of this too, like there may be something where I think we need more time to reach consensus to a certain extent. I've played with this idea of like, why not, we're ranking on weekly contributions. So why not have that randomization occur ahead of time. So then you have a whole week to decide. And then when you have the meeting, that's when it's like the final timer is then.
Dan,
And then you have to submit your consensus by then. Because right now we were rushed. And so that narrative can kind of get pushed of like, oh, we need time, we need to do this. And then that's when emotions kind of come out too, right? Because I was wanting to advocate for myself because I like I said, I believe I should have been ranked 6th this last week because of my direct contribution towards the Eden Fractal. Like the reason we had the MSIG, like Dan's been doing that, right? But I picked up that slack. And so for Dan to get 6 over me this week didn't seem right. I took the initiative to make sure that we got paid for week 9 and week 10. That's where the emotion came out for me. But a lot of time was lost though, because Dan and I were arguing back and forth about if voting for yourself, like it declaring or not. Like
I would say
Dan
arguing, by
kept,
the way.
I'm debating, my bad. Like I said, and I'm apologizing right now because I realize this is a weakness of myself. When I get emotional, I say things the wrong way. The best way for me to fix that is by apologizing and just recognizing that's a flaw in my character. And so I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm gonna review things and I'll probably come up with like where I could have done things better. But I think this last example is a perfect, like Jorge, you should watch this room and I would be interested to hear your thoughts because I think what you've been describing with noise was amplified in this past breakout room.
But Felix, I don't understand because Jorge was talking about noise being introduced when people were voting for ourselves and we decided not to vote for ourselves.
on that note, Dan Larimer talked about composing a post on Hive of recent contributions. And that would go a long way to helping reach consensus on most important topics.
He just posted a post, you said?
He encouraged the community in Saturday's Blackboard to post on Hive contributions.
Yes.
So we can start that with the most important thing. Give us more time.
Okay, I'd like to hear Taras. He just raised his hand, so I think we should respect that.
Well, so did I, and I used my physical.
Yeah, Marco, you can go first.
No, I did. That was it. Just a
okay.
Hive post that Dan Larimer brought up on Saturday.
Okay. Yeah, so I agree with the idea that maybe posting contributions before the meeting, sharing them somehow. But I see it unlikely that people will have time to review those contributions before the meeting. So I doubt we will be able to win a lot of time here. And I don't think it's a solution to extend the time of a meeting because
Agreed.
I think because we can't debate for forever like who contributed more, and if we increase the time, people will relax more and it will extend further forever. So yeah,
we can prioritize anyone who's willing to post their contributions at Hive.
Yeah, we could do that, but yeah, the way I would look at it, Felix, is that I don't know, maybe I wouldn't look at any single week as very important reflection of your true contribution, and like the reason why I didn't vote for you in the 6th place. For me, it was importance of a contribution versus amount of contributions, and Dan just had a lot more contributions for EOS and for Eden Fractal, whereas yours was like the most important contribution. But it's in my mind it shouldn't take as much time as everything that Dan did. So I was considering the time spent as well, but again, that's a subjective perspective of mine. Like I said, it's a clash of different perspective, who values in what way. So we can't discuss this forever. So I suggest we don't spend too much time discussing this specific result right now. Please. That's all from.
Okay, so I guess it's my turn. So regarding Felix's idea of having the contributions posted a week in advance, and well, if we do that, we will also need to know which, or will be ideal to know which people will be in our rooms. And the point is, Dan had mentioned this already, that not all people that are randomized in our rooms 1 week in advance will show up during the meeting. So that's something Dan had said before. And another point someone just mentioned that I wanted to, oh yes, regarding the possibility of, regarding just what Tadas was saying, I've been proposing in one of my posts, in order to not have this long debating and egos fighting, we should have a policy of, from the very beginning, aim at ranking contributions on real time. What do I mean by that? I mean, for example, if Felix did some huge contribution, he makes a post on Hive or on whatever social platform we choose, and people, and we design a way that people, at the very moment they find that post and read it and say, hey, this is a great contributions, they assign respect to that, or some kind of punctuation, so that automatically at the end of the week, without any debate, the respect is there. And same with interviews that Dan does, and same with posts that I create and people that we invite. We need to move towards the automatization and real-time allocation of respect. It's a huge and very challenging goal, but I see that's the only way to reduce this debating and feeling unfairly ranked. And thirdly, I want to thank all of you guys for your donations to my Pomelo grant, including Dan and Felix and Taras and Perry. Pretty much all of you guys donated. So thank you.
Thank you,
All right,
Jorge.
thank you, Perry. I mean, sorry, Jorge. Yeah, I'll go ahead. My hand's raised.
Wait,
Hey,
Felix,
you gotta hold up. Guys, let's go in order with the hands raised. That's being respectful of everybody.
But Felix, I wanted to ask a logistical question just to make sure the account names, because currently nobody has submitted in the app, so I just want to make sure everybody's account names are correct there.
Okay, that can be post discussion. This is the post meeting. I'm gonna go. My hand was raised.
It has to be within 40 minutes.
Okay, so again, like I said, I'm apologizing because I am emotional. I'm upset right now. I'm not gonna lie. I get it. Like I said, I'm probably gonna have to issue another apology later, because I definitely am lost in my emotion right now. I'm probably not doing some things right, but I know that's because I know I pay attention to these things within myself, like as a character. To address what Tadas was saying, so I agree. Not week to week. It's not a do all, end all be all type thing, right? Which is kind of how I feel like I'm treating it right now, which I'm wrong on that end, right? But my thing is, so I don't know. It's tough. I feel like, yeah, Dan's done a lot of contributions, but also you feel like he did it because his presentation was really long. I didn't share all the things that I did. I just basically just went straight up on the point. So maybe that was my bad. Maybe I should present a little bit more of all my contributions, but directly that impacted the Eden Fractal. I got straight to the point. The thing is, we need to be paid as soon as within a couple of days after this has been posted. It's a simple task. Dan was slacking on it. I'm sorry. I'm just being straight up. And so I took the initiative to get that done. And so this happened in this last week. That is the most directly, to me, in my opinion, the biggest contribution towards this Eden Fractal, pushing this Eden Fractal forward. Yes, we are doing a lot of things for EOS and Eden, and we're respecting that as well. but we need to respect and measure the quality of the people who are coming as well with their contributions. I am taking a risk here, guys, by being here when I have a full-time paying job and it's paying me good money, and I'm taking my time out of my day right now and I need to be spending it doing that stuff for this. So it upsets me when I don't get, like, I don't feel like I'm being valued, and that's where the emotion's coming from. It's never come out until this last week, and again, I'm gonna have to apologize on some things because I'm just going with my emotion. So that's that one point. The one point to Jorge about what Dan was saying, Dan Larimer, because I do remember addressing him about that, and he said the issue is that people might not show up to that the next week, and then how do you vote? Okay, well, if you don't show up, you don't get paid. And that's the responsibility of the entire group to coordinate. Hey, we need to be able to coordinate a time to lock in our votes, and the deadline is set. Like, that can be coded to a hard lock, like votes have to be casted or no one, you just don't get paid in your group. And so I guess anyone could reach consensus within that time. Ideally, it is nice to have it around a weekly event so that we can have these post meetings and stuff. But my whole kind of idea and proposal is like, we have the randomized group ahead of time. You know, you're going to be coming into this meeting, and if that a person doesn't show up, then I think it's within that group's responsibility. Like, you guys want to get paid, make sure enough votes are casted to reach consensus. It's the same thing. Like, if you don't reach consensus in that short amount of time, no one gets paid. So I don't know. I just don't think that's a good enough argument of like, well, people won't show up, so they won't cast their vote. We need more time to reflect on this, because then that helps flesh everything out. Because like I said, a lot of bad emotion came out of me today because I was frustrated, and there's a lot more to share. And I could be wrong. Maybe Dan does deserve to be ranked a little higher, but my gut feeling is telling me I should have been ranked higher than Dan this week, because I don't think there's been a week where I've actually been ranked above Dan. And I bring in just as much to this Eden Fractal as he is too. And we're close in the rankings, but he's higher than me. And that wouldn't have changed anything if I would have got voted this week. So that's where I also kind of upset me too, that Dan was going another way instead of me. And so, like, you know, I voted for him to be number 6 when I removed myself from the vote. But then I think he went with Tadas, or I'd have to, yeah, I'm not sure. I have to go back and look at the results, but that's just kind of, like I said, it's an interesting room. Definitely.
You
when it's
couldn't vote for
posted, everyone
yourself.
check it out. We chose not to, but then to advocate, and then it got ugly
So,
afterwards. But there was a lot of,
Here's the key. If next week you believe you deserve that respect, being able to vote for yourself is huge.
But then Dan will have voted for himself.
I was talking to
and
Felix, you always jump and let up.
Yeah, and I'm talking to you.
You see the
Dan
issue.
will have
You never
voted for
respond-
himself, and
Jorge,
the
you
team
never
will have
respond to
repeated.
this issue that I bring. You always ignore it and bring yours. So this is a way that voting for yourself has value.
no, it added a lot of noise though, in my opinion. Like, because beforehand, like, yes, we voted to do that, but then, but like I said, like, I don't know, this is a mixed bag of a lot of things though, too. I think it's not just this is not just the self-voting, non-voting issue. It's also, it's just, like I said, I'm just being real with this Eden Fractal. If I'm going to dedicate my time to this community, I need to have trust in you guys though, too, that my respect is going to be, like, the value that I'm bringing is being respected within this community. If not, I've got other things I've got as well. And that's not a threat. I'm not saying I'm leaving or anything, but I'm just saying, like, you know, if let's say I start becoming less respected in this community and my contributions I feel are not being ranked, I will leave. And that will also balance out, like, all fractals, right? Like, in a sense, because it's all based off the community that you form around your fractal. And like I said, I love this fractal. I've said a lot of things that, like, you know, I got to go back and, you know, honestly too, if you guys watch the video, I'd love to hear the feedback of where I could have done things better, because I know I could have done things better. But I'm also going with my feeling, which is important, because that's being true and real, not hiding things. And that's how you flush out all this stuff, and then we can all move in you know, a similar direction.
Dan, you have had your hands raised for a long time.
Yep. Thanks, Jorge. Yeah, so first off,
just logistically, it looks like 4 to 6 people have submitted consensus on the app for Group 2. So thank you for submitting consensus there. And then, yeah, I'd also just like to briefly respond to Felix. So I would encourage everybody to listen to our room. Both Felix and I posted. Felix posted on his YouTube channel. I posted on our room number, by the way. Perry is room number 2. Thank you to us. Yes, I would encourage everybody to listen to it for learning experience. I've also been listening to most of Felix's videos in general, because I feel like it's just helpful to hear more about what's going on in the fractal and Genesis fractal from all the different people. And especially since this has been a big discussion and we can help each other learn and so forth, then I think that that'd be a good idea. So I'd recommend listening to those when they come out later today or tomorrow, whenever. There have been several times that you've been ranked higher than me, Felix, and you're in the top 3 right now, and you received level 5 in respect. There were also times that I was ranked or level number 2, even though I was doing the responsibility of submitting the votes, or level number 3. Sometimes you advocate for yourself and people don't agree because other people are doing really great contributions too. But as Tadas was saying, like, it's over the long term and we're all working for each other's benefit. Like a couple weeks ago, I advocated for myself above Tadas, and then this week I had more time to read Tadas's paper and all the work he's doing. And so this week I was more advocating for Tadas because I realized how valuable it is. But I also really appreciate what Felix is doing, what Chris is doing, what Perry is doing. It's all like, it's in our best interest as a community to cooperate. Like, as Dan Larimer said, it's always going to be bound to be fair or bound to be unfair every week. But like, it's in our best interest to cooperate as gracefully as possible and give each other the benefit of the doubt, give each other the respect, both in token, but then also the respect to like be able to appreciate each other and understand that we're all doing things to help, and we might not be able to see that all, but that we all are working for the benefit of the community. Everybody's doing a lot, and everybody has their own scope of what they can see. Because I spend, all my time working on what I work on, and then Tadas spends all his time working on what he works on, and we see each other's work a bit, but like we're all biased in the fact that we see different things. And then also, Felix, I would say, like, you're certainly a leader in this community, and it's much appreciated. And as I was saying, you're in the top 3. I would say, in the interest of the community, as you're reviewing this video, you should think about how you can lead more for the benefit of the community, because I feel like right now you're kind of focusing a little bit on yourself, and I've done that before too. We all do that, but like, the community will really succeed.
We just removed voting for ourselves, and the words you just said speak volumes.
I'm not sure what you mean, Marco.
You just said that Felix is advocating for himself as a leader. He should focus more on the community, and we just removed voting for ourselves in both rooms. That is typical of what happens in this sort of.
Marco, I really appreciate that you raise your hand and respect the turn.
This is a topic.
I have a lot of things to say about it, but I haven't raised my hand, so I haven't spoke. Please, Dan, continue.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean by that, Marcus. I'm interested to hear in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, there's times when we don't get as much respect as we all might want in each room, but like, it's for the benefit of the community. Like, when we all work together and we all aim to cooperate gracefully, like, we're all at the beginning of something that could be super, super helpful. And so like, we should keep the best of the community in mind as much as possible. And Felix, today, if I wasn't the host, then you would have prevented everybody from reaching consensus and reaching anything, probably. I mean, unless something different happened, but we went over like 5 or 10 minutes. I felt bad for the other room that we weren't able to reach consensus because they didn't know what was going on. Technically, that should have been against the rules. And there was a lot of times, Felix, that you were not willing to like change your mind or like keep advocating for something, or kind of speaking a bit more than probably was best for the community, because like, we only had 40 minutes to reach consensus, and it did make it difficult to cooperate in that way. So I appreciate your emotional, and I appreciate the work you're doing very much. But we're all doing a lot of work. Like, yeah, I'll just leave it there so I'm not rambling too much. And I'm interested to hear thoughts. I think maybe Dwayne has hands up next. I'm not sure.
I really appreciate the passion right? We wouldn't be here if we're not passionate about this. And just my reflections on the room, thankfully, I know we've grown to know each other, and I do see a lot of you, and I can see what you're doing. I think for the next time, my two observations for the room was, I think what Marco is going to be talking about was, we got into this advocating for yourself versus not voting. And I really like the voting, because I think there's so far been a balance in most of my room where there's not enough people that are passionate enough that speak out for themselves. So until that kind of changes, I think that would have been one thing that could have changed the outcome of the room. Because what happened, Felix, is we went past consensus, and then we started talking about the consensus that was already reached. So we could have kind of had that dialogue and kind of wrapped it up if we would have been able to vote for ourselves. Because I believe there was this one person, Dan, who didn't vote him for himself on the first level, and then we moved on, and then you advocated, said, hey, I should have got that top spot, but it was kind of too late. So we kind of wasted time there, where if you could have voted for yourself, we could have that discussion, and it could have been in the right time frame, because you could have said, hey, you know what, I didn't really advocate for myself in that 3 minutes, because I really want to tell you guys, and then exactly what you told us just now, that the reasons why you really feel you should have been top spot. And I would have bet that passion, if directed concisely and timely, we would have all changed our votes if it would have been at that spot. It was just past the point, and then it just got kind of rough, because then we were taken away from the other consensus. So, if it happened all over again, I think it's, those emotions come out, we get to know each other, we get to know ourselves. It's perfectly fine to go through these experiments, especially when we're a young new group. And yeah, I don't think taking any of the emotion out would be the issue. It would just be the procedure, right? And I think just based on now, if all of us, if our groups turn into 6 people, all going like that, and all 6 of us are saying we want first spot, I might change my mind and go, hey, maybe we should turn to not voting for ourselves. So I think it's kind of a fluid state, and yeah, that's my opinion. So thanks, guys. I gotta tune out too. But say, love you all. Love you, Felix. Thanks, Dan, for moderating that. And thanks, everybody. Nice job on all the Pomelo pitches. Thanks, everybody, for donating to mine as well. And yeah, we'll catch you on the flip side.
Thanks so much,
Appreciate it,
Dwayne,
Dwayne.
for everything.
Thank you, Dwayne.
Have a
Thanks,
great day.
Julian.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll go real quick of some things. I'm starting to calm down too. So, also, Dwayne, if you watch that, I appreciate that. That was it is insightful, and like I said, I think it is good. I'm going with my emotion, because I'm trying to identify this topic. There is something there. I think before I mentioned about the removing the self-voting, was first collecting the data of seeing where everyone was at before then voting for yourself. But now, I don't know, the way Dwayne explained that though too, I'm still undecided on this. I'm trying to figure it out either way, but that was some good points though too. So I guess I want to address a couple points that you were making, Dan. Everything's on chain, so I got to go back, but I don't know. I am interested. Maybe there may have been one room, but I don't feel like there. I just know, I feel like for the most part, I don't know, we're close. Like I said, we're splitting probably hairs here, and probably shouldn't continue on this. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it ended up being how it ended up being, which was good. But my thing though is I have been more passive, I would say, with giving my vote up, because I've first wanted to recognize contributions before myself, but now things are changing, because now I'm like, okay, I see something here. I'm wanting to commit more here. Like I said, it's now me building my trust in this community, which I've gotten a lot of support, but also I need to know that, hey, like, I'm also being respected for what I am sacrificing for this Eden Fractal too. Again, like I said, if I'm a valued member, think of like, like, I don't know what I'm bringing to the table is I think I'm bringing I add professionalism and a little bit more of a business sense to this Eden fractal, that's getting objective things done. One of the things, like Dan, like you said, we didn't have much time because we were discussing back and forth between self-voting or not, but how much time did you take to go through your pitch, which also took a lot of time of selling to everybody else, where mine was shorter and more condensed. And so I chose to use our time to discuss the self-voting thing, because you keep on saying it's not important, but clearly it's important because we're having this discussion here. And that's you trying to voice your opinion onto everyone else. It's not important. We have other things we need to be working on. That's your opinion. Clearly that's not the case, because there's other members we're talking about that, and we don't need to be shying away from talking about this topic. If it's something that we think is important, if members think it's important, we do not need to discourage it. And so, yeah, I think I should just leave it at that for now. Jorge, you want to go?
Yeah, thank you. What I would like you guys to do at this moment is to close your eyes and breathe, and really focus your attention inside yourselves. Those feelings you're experiencing, those emotions, that's noise. It's not external noise.
Thanks, Nicholas. See
It's
ya.
internal noise.
Bye, everyone.
And that internal noise, what's happening in there is just exteriorizing. It's just projecting itself to the outward world. So this is my point. That internal noise will always appear when reputation is at stake. And there are studies, I could send you the links to these studies. People get mad when they feel robbed, when they feel they are losing money, but they get tenfold madder if their reputation is at stake. The one thing people can't bear is losing reputation. They prefer to lose money. So, and this is where I connect my answer to Marco. The whole point I've been trying to make by advocating against self-ranking is to try to prevent that internal noise to go to the outside. If you allow self-ranking in a room, I've said it and I've put math into this. These are not my opinion. This is mathematical numbers. If you allow self-ranking in a room, what happened today with 2 people will happen with 5 people. Because what will happen when, for example, in a room today, we had 5 big hitter contributors, and they all decide that they deserve the top spot. So
You singled out my name, so you wanted me to reply at some point.
yeah, but please,
So
let me.
I'm going to reply now since you singled out my name.
No, but please let me finish.
And you mentioned reputation. And I'm going to say these are based on peer-to-peer networks. Don't remove that.
So, for example, what I've been advocating and what Felix has also been advocating is that at any time you can advocate for yourself verbally and try to convince your peers, because this is a community and each member is supposed to trust the judgment of their peers. And if after 5 minutes of presentation and ranting, your peers still don't believe that you deserve that spot, then you have to respect that. Then that's my point on advocating against the self-ranking thing, because maybe if after presenting and pushing towards your peers giving you that spot, they don't, maybe it's your internal noise that is exteriorizing. So I within the best of my judgment, I'm still in the same position of not self-ranking at any moment. I also think that we are going to use the ƒractal UI in which this whole problem is going to diffuse a lot. But I think that if we allow to self-rank, the whole noise is going to really amplify eventually. And on the other, on top of that, at any room, we are getting at the beginning of the meeting consensus of whether to allow it or not. And so, for example, today in a room, we just presented the option. We are going to allow self-ranking or not. We decided not to do it, and everything went pretty smoothly.
Thank you, Jorge, for sharing your perspective. Much appreciated. And also your guided meditation too is also appreciated. I enjoyed the deep breath and the relaxation. Maybe next time you could have some ocean sounds in the background too, if you want to fancy it up. No, just joking. Yeah, so I most of you wanted to respond to what a couple of things that Felix was saying, but then also what Jorge was saying. Yeah, so last week we kind of agreed. It wasn't a firm agreement, I suppose, with everybody, but it seemed like the general consensus was that we would do it quickly, decide about self-voting and just vote quickly. And then to respond to what Felix was saying, I did vote quickly. I said that I would vote that people can vote for themselves, but I didn't really care either way. But then you advocated for a couple minutes. And so I was trying to avoid the discussion about whether to vote for ourselves, because I do think that it's in the best interest of the community to spend more time deliberating each other's contributions and coming to consensus and asking each other questions and so forth, rather than focusing on the self-voting during the rooms. I was happy to discuss it last week. I think we had a great discussion after the call last week. But yeah, I do think it's certainly better for the community to focus that time on reaching consensus. The total time on presentation was a bit long. Sorry about that. It was like 5 minutes and 10 seconds according to my timer. So I aim to do 4 minutes, and I think that is a better amount of time probably to leave more time for consensus. However, I do think that I spoke quite a bit less overall than you did, Felix, throughout the conversation. And I would absolutely encourage you to get more detail in your presentations, because I know you're doing a lot. You totally left out the Zeos thing, which is like a huge work that you did, and several other things that you've done. I don't think you mentioned the town hall. Like, you should show all those things, because that makes it more impressive for everybody who's watching. Like, it makes it more impressive for people who are just joining for the first time. It makes better content for the future, so you can cut your presentation and share a 4-minute presentation about all of the great things you're doing. It looks better for Eden Fractal and so forth. So yeah, I mean, it's something that we should all do. Like, the more that we can convey more value that we're providing the community in a short amount of time during our presentations, that's better for everybody. And I love that you're doing the video presentation now, but I think that you could perhaps learn a couple of things and just trying to squeeze in more, and then taking notes throughout what you're doing throughout the week to remember to include those things and feature them, because those are helpful. Like, that was an opportunity to promote Zeos and promote the town hall and stuff like that. I see lots of interesting comments there, but I'll read them in a bit. Yeah, I mentioned this stuff about the self-ranking, and then I would also just say too, this is also kind of personal to Felix. I'm happy to open it up to other discussions as well and move on. But just one other note that I wanted to say is that Felix, like right now you have like approximately, as of last week, you have 9% of all the Eden Fractal Respect tokens right now. So that's like a huge amount. And like, we're all like, everybody, even if people are being ranked lower, like there's only, 20 people showing up at meetings. Like, most people own like at least like 0.5% or something if you showed up to at least a couple meetings. That's like a huge percentage of stake in the community. And like, what we're working on with Fractally and Eden Fractal and Eden, like, these things can grow like immensely, like hugely, be profoundly helpful for everybody and grow to great value. And it's like, something I think about often is like, if you were one of the first Bitcoin miners and you had 100,000 Bitcoin or 200,000 Bitcoin, like, it's not a big deal. Like, you're pretty set financially and you're respected by the Bitcoin network. And like, we're all getting great experience just from being here. And something I think about is like, I'm kind of glad that we had a smaller event today, because there's kind of a lot of drama today. And like, when we invite more people in, we should create a fun environment where there's not much drama, where people are cooperating gracefully, where people are laughing, where people are happy to give each other a higher rank. Like, that's good to do. Absolutely not, Chris. But where people are happy to give each other a lot of respect, and then be graceful when it doesn't work out exactly how they wanted, and just be in the interest of providing the most fun atmosphere and the most helpful and productive atmosphere for the community. So I would say that it's helpful for us all to keep that in mind at all times. It's good to have these discussions now, but in the future, I would very much appreciate both you, Felix, and then everybody to keep that in mind and focus on creating the most like fun and productive environment for the community. And I think that'll be very helpful, because we're all in the beginning of something that's really special and very helpful and important here. I don't know if Tadas has hands up or next or who had their hands up. I see 4 hands up. Tadas lowered hand.
Yeah, but I
Mark.
think I
Yeah.
wanted to unmute, so but then accidentally I lowered my hand. So yeah, I wanted to uh, uh, remark something about what Jorge said. I would say that these emotions that we feel when our reputation is at stake, these aren't. It's it isn't just noise. Sometimes these emotions carry information that our rational mind does not recognize yet. So I think it's often better to listen to that, and I think Felix would agree because that's he allowed basically his emotions to come through, and I think, and like he said, I think it's fine. Like that's how he can grow as a person, by expressing it and learning from it, and he can learn better by expressing it because when he gets feedback and so on. So yeah, and another thing to note, some people noise isn't just introduced by self-voting. Some people are afraid to self-vote uh, because because they are afraid to look selfish. They are afraid to express their emotion, the fact that they don't feel like they are ranked properly, and in that produces inaccurate results too. And I think the way I look at it, to approach anything similar to accurate rankings, we need all of us need to speak our truth as we see it at all times, and being unable to self-vote when you think you should take that spot, I think that you're when people end up repressing their real opinion, and all that does is it, it then comes out in some later in some less I don't know, uh, less approachable way how to say it, if that makes sense. Like that's how it always works with people. Like if people are not allowed to express their egos, it doesn't go anywhere. It's not over. Like it will come out in some way or another, either by them leaving the community, or by them being angry at the community, or playing games and so on. So yeah, that's my perspective on these things, and why I would support allowing self-voting, and why I think not self-voting does not solve any problems. And but again, yeah, like Jorge said, a lot of these problems will probably be less relevant once fractal UI comes out.
Thanks, Tadas.
We can do a lot by starting this conversation early, most important topics, to Genesis fractally, the fractals in general, and specific fractals, with the idea of posting on Hive or Twitter, and encouraging the community to, at the very least, upload and further providing comments here. But if the conversation starts during the meeting, while you're not in other groups, the most important conversations will tend to carry the most momentum, and hence already have an impact on the group and deciding things. Then. But the other thing that was mentioned with the posting, I think Dan said it himself, was we're promoting fractal.
Okay. Thank you, Marcos. All right, so I wrote some things down. So self-voting, yeah, that's a tricky thing. I don't think it's not binary, right? It's not there's been now points made by both Dwayne and I think Tadas as well, that by voting, it also can kind of reduce noise. So what I'm starting to think though is now, but it's either way though. Like I see it the opposite way as well. So then I start thinking, well, what's the bigger problem here? And I think right now it's probably time. And so maybe, like I said, if we do a week, and then also I think what I'm trying to capture though is the declaration, like the voting, removing yourself of your personal rankings. Like that's just providing data by removing yourself first, and then, but like that needs to probably be done with more time. Those are just some thoughts there, because like I said, I think this is a tricky subject. It's not binary. It's not self-voting is good, self-voting is bad. It's a mix of the two, because there's being great points shared from both ends. So yeah, and then I guess to address some of the things that Dan was saying. So yes, I get that. Yes, I am like, I'm at, like, I'm number 3 right now for the Eden, but I also look too, you're number 2, Dan. And if you would have gave your vote to me, that wouldn't have changed that. It would have made us a little closer though. But I don't think there's anything wrong there either, right? Because we're both the top, we're top contributors for this Eden fractal. For me, like I said, is like, now I want to also, like, I didn't share my video because I felt like it was redundant. Everyone has seen me going through my videos of YouTube. So I was thinking in terms of time. So I can make the argument a lot of time was wasted going through a lot of the similar things that you go through every week when you present. Though I know sometimes you throw some new stuff in, but that's why. And also maybe that's my bad. Maybe from every week, I just need to be redundant and do the same presentation of all my contributions. But that's why, like, for me, I kept it simple. I was like, my biggest contribution was we got paid because I stepped up and I got that taken care of when it was 2 weeks late. And I'm sorry, Dan, it's, I know you're super busy, but that's also something I want to kind of straight up, like, let's hold a little bit of accountability. If that was your responsibility and role and you slacked 2 weeks, and if it's such an easy process, then why wasn't it taken care of? But I stepped up, I got it taken care of. But now it's wanting to be like, oh, it was something very easy. Well, okay, well, if something easy, that's a priority, dude. We need to make, like, I get you want to make things fun here too, but we need to be professional also. Like I said, I'm taking time out of my day. I'm risking things, and everyone here, if we're going to bring and onboard people that are in the business world or in work and life, they're taking time here. Yes, there's a time for fun, but I don't think on a Wednesday morning we need to be thinking about fun. We need to be thinking about objectable things that we're moving forward. And that's where I think I bring value to this, and not saying I'm more valuable than you, Dan, but we're neck and neck. And so I want to keep things at that point right now too, because of the value I think I'm bringing to this Eden fractal as well. And so that just, I think that's kind of like, yeah, that's probably all I have for right now.
Just start contributing less.
And that's one thing I was like, well, okay, cool. Like, now I am going to leave at 10. I'm not going to stay after 30 minutes like I have, because I have to go to work. I've been taking time out of my day job to spend here in the Eden fractal, but now it's different. I've got a lot of work and a lot of stress coming from what I'm doing with project controls for oil and gas company, where I manage a portfolio of projects, high dollar projects. We're talking millions of dollars. So this experience, this value that I bring as my skill set to this Eden fractal needs to be valued as well, if you guys want to keep me here. And like I said, that's not, and sorry, that probably comes off aggressive, because I don't mean that. I love everyone here. I'm trying to lay it out on the table though too. We need to really value valuable contributions though to valuable members, and also realize there may be a bias. Like, I'm not, and this is speculation though, but Dan, maybe you went with Taught Us because he's not as close to you in the rankings and it keeps you at number 2. Not saying that's what your intentions are, but it could be a subconscious thing in your head. And that's why I also think, like, I've brought just as much to this Eden fractal as you, and I'm fine with you being a little ahead because you got the initiative fine. But I'm aiming to be the top contributor here because I care for this Eden fractal, and I want to be respected though for my contributions I'm bringing to the table too. If not, I can start a fractal elsewhere, and that's not a threat. That's just me being real and honest with this community. And if I started elsewhere, it could be with a community from here, but I'm not saying that's where I want things to go, but that's just being real. And at the end of the day, I like Dan, you definitely add a positive thing to, like, with your attitude, which is great, which balances me, right? Because I think I can be aggressive with my emotion and I don't control that as well as you at times. But when we're talking about mainstream adoption, we're going to have people who are more bold than I am. And I know how to deal with those people, and I can handle myself, I think, because you have to match aggression sometimes. No, I don't know. That may be wrong to say that, but there are going to be people who are going to be very, like, I'm not fine with this having fun bullshit. Like, this is a meeting. We're talking money. And this is a Wednesday. If we want to have fun, we can set those meetings up for the weekend. But I'm treating this like a business because we're taking our time and we're talking about a monetary value. Yes, these tokens can have value in the future, but it's up to us to make it valuable. And so the current allocation needs to make sure that we're incentivizing all of our top contributors, and everyone needs to be at where we're at. Like, yes, it's not a week-to-week thing, but I'm looking from the total allocation as well. So that's why I think another reason why I should have been higher. I don't think I need to be like that. What I did this week should have brought me closer to you versus behind, because I took on a task that was your responsibility, but now it's mine.
Okay. Can I proceed?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. So I wanted to say that we maybe have a consensus from both sides, the self-ranking and the not self-ranking sides, which is we don't establish a strict protocol, but we decide at the beginning of each room whether to do it or not, and that's pretty much it. And we can assume that flexible protocol from now on and forget about this thing. For example, I'll suggest that if the contributions are very, very competitive, we don't do self-ranking. But if the contributions are more dispersed, we can do self-ranking, because it will be totally unfair that a high contributor gets bashed by someone who did nothing. So I'll propose that middle ground for the next meetings while we get the UI, and then maybe we decide if we modify it or not. What do you guys think?
If this is open, I like that we're also getting structure with the raised hand. So please cut me off if I'm out of line for not raising my hand, but I think we should do that. That's respect. So if that's an open question though, I can answer it. If not, if we should do it through the hands, we'll do it through the hands.
I'm sorry, Jorge, could you repeat specifically the proposal? I apologize. What was that?
Yeah, that both sides, the for self-ranking and the against self-ranking, maybe have a middle ground, which is just take a quick poll during the meeting, maybe after the contributions have been presented, and decide just by raising hands whether to self-rank or not. My suggestion would be that if contributions are really tight, really competitive, we don't do self-ranking. And if the contributions are more dispersed, we do self-ranking. That will be my.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel that if it's not this, oh, sorry, didn't raise my hand.
Yeah, please, Dan, go ahead. You raise your hand.
Okay, sure, sounds good. Is there anything you want to say, Perry, quickly? That's okay, because I do think that some flexibility is helpful, although I also appreciate the respecting of raising hands too. But if not, then I'll go. I see you raise his hand. Okay, cool. So you can share later.
Well, okay, yeah. I was gonna say, because I have a response to Jorge as well. It went quiet, but you had your hand raised. So we need to develop some process of, like, if we pose a question, let's open it up. Like, whoever has their hands raised, if they want to address it right then and there, but then also everyone else raises their hands. Some type of process. So yeah, we're not. It's just gonna be good for formal.
Yeah, let's all raise hands, please.
Okay, sounds good. So I wanted to respond mostly to the points that you were saying before, Felix, but I don't know if you want to respond to Jorge first to be more consistent with the topics. Or do you think I should go ahead with my response to you first?
Yeah, I say probably go ahead.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I was writing notes. I would like to also move on to a couple other exciting topics I have that I really want to share with the community before we go, because I think that it helps with a lot of these things that we're talking about with both raising hands, and I have a really exciting initiative like a community managed website that I think could be really cool using the interim consensus process. But first, and could also help fund Eden developers. Like that's the whole initiative. Okay, Felix got to go in 3 minutes. So maybe Felix, if you're able to listen to the rest of it later, that would be appreciated. I'll upload the video, but first I'll just share my response to the things that you were saying, specifically about the kind of previous topic. Thanks, Chris. So the videos that I share, I do share new contributions every week. There's a few repetitive parts here and there. I'll share a brief overview of some parts, but everything that I share basically is work that I've done this week. I adopted that responsibility to submit MSIGs. You could have done that at any time previously, but I did it. I spoke with Vlad for a while and spoke with James how to do it several weeks or months ago. And then yesterday or 2 years ago, I also made the documentation and I showed you at work. So I probably spent more time than you doing it on this week between making the documentation. And then we spent the same amount of time on the call. So I very much appreciate that you're doing it. And I'm also not totally absolving myself of the responsibility. I mean, I'm still, I was planning on doing it yesterday, but before you reached out, but just to clarify about that, I also wasn't slacking. I mean, I think Tadas made a good point. Like it's different priorities. Like I'm also working over 12 hours a day, I'd say, on probably more than that on EOS and Eden Fractal, and most that's not with pay. I work part-time with EOS Nation and Bywire, but majority of the time I'm like writing articles for Eden Fractal and stuff, and that's not for pay.
I gotta
Just
go.
different some priorities.
Just letting you know. I don't want to interrupt. I'm leaving at 10, so
Okay.
it looks like you're using the time, which is fine. I just have, yeah. I'm sorry.
Let's talk another time soon about this, Felix. If you're available to meet on a call later today during the week or something like that, I think that'd probably be good.
Okay. I mean, I could share real quick if you guys care. Like I said, I'm gonna leave at 10 regardless. It's just partly to make a point. Like I said, there'll probably be apologies. I'll follow up because I love this community, right? We're just fleshing things out. But I'm also making a point. Like I value my time and yes, but I picked it up though. That's a priority for the Eden Fractal contributions first, EOS Eden stuff after. And this was the most beneficial thing. We got paid. That was the most, that to me is priority number one. Now others feel less, I guess, I don't know. We'll see, but I got to go. Appreciate it, everyone. I'll talk to you guys throughout the week. Take care.
Okay.
Felix.
See you, Felix.
Take it easy, Felix.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things I was going to respond to Felix, but I guess I'll just respond to him at another point. And then the things I wanted to bring up, I see people have their hands raised, so I won't go on for much longer, but I did really want to share this idea for the new website, edendevelopers.org, and how we can maybe use, I've also been thinking how we can use the BBS social media application on EOS, maybe do real-time voting. But yeah, basically I've worked on a campaign. I announced it during the chief delegate meeting this week, and then also during the town hall to raise funding for Eden Fractal developers and Eden developers in general. I'm planning on donating 1,000 EOS from my chief delegate budget to both Vlad and James for their work on Eden Fractal code development. And then I'm planning on making a proposal to the ENF to send them 10 times more of that, 10,000 EOS each for retroactive public goods funding for their work. And then also I'm planning on making a website, I think called edendeveloper.org, that I think would be really cool if we use the interim consensus process to review changes and additions and encourage community submissions to share why they think funding Eden developers is a good idea. So that's kind of the general idea, but I'll leave it at that. And I'm curious if you guys have thoughts about that, or also you guys had your hands raised earlier, so I'd be curious whatever you have to share.
Jorge, I don't know if you were first or I was, but if you'd like to go ahead, it's fine, no problem.
Well, I'm going to change topic. So if you are on topic, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say that I really appreciate both Dan and Felix of what they're doing. And the difference between their contributions for me is negligible. They're both, I feel like they're both you guys are kickstarting this whole movement on EOS, not on Fractally, but on EOS, the Fractally movement. you and a lot of people, including you, Jorge. You're doing a lot of contributions. It's very small difference. So I don't think that we should really be spending too much energy trying to be more or less than others. I will say that when I was younger, I had a lot of what's that? Yeah, long time ago. Hey, I'm less than 12. I'm less than 12 months away from being a senior citizen, guys.
Wow.
I'm-
How
yeah.
old is that?
I'll be 62 in less than a year.
That isn't that much.
Yeah. I don't quite look my age, nor do I act my age. Yeah, so that's a little something probably nobody's figured out yet.
Cool. Yeah, I didn't know that.
You do, you know that. Okay.
No, I didn't. And well, now I do, but I didn't. But now we have now we have Perry's wisdom as almost a senior guiding us. So that's cool. I thought you were probably like 10 years younger or something.
Well, thank you. Yeah, most people feel, get that same impression. I live a healthy life, I guess, is part of but I do party, so it's all a strange thing. So, not often. Anyway, that's a whole nother health is another whole nother topic. What I want to say is that I've spent a lifetime taking my passion and trying to redirect it in a positive way. So I appreciate Felix in that way. I understand him being very passionate, and that energy I think needs to be focused in a positive way. And we don't want to split up. We don't want to discourage Felix at all. I don't, and I appreciate him and both you and Dan. And about the vote itself, Jorge, I agree with you. My instincts say that I don't think we should be entering our own voting for ourselves. However, I think I heard Dan say the opposite. So I very much respect Dan Larimer. I very much respect his opinion. So I'm curious if anybody here could advocate for what Dan was saying, so that I can understand why I'm split. Thank you. Those are the things I wanted to say.
Well, I could answer you. The way Dan addressed this issue was the way I saw it. It wasn't that well thought. It was simply people regarded not allowing self-ranking as some version of when you prevent people from talking. That's called
Interrupting?
Censorship?
no, censorship. Yeah. So he was like trying not to allow any kind of censorship within the system. And the way I saw it was that it has nothing to do with censorship. You are doing a measurement and a service for the community, and that service is doing the best possible measurement, and that best possible measurement is not done if you are part of the system you are measuring, because then your internal noise is going to get into the measurement. And that's what we are seeing, basically. Does that answer your question?
It does. It surprises me that doesn't appeal to Dan. Dan seems to be, he's not a scientist, but he seems to appeal to data. So that argument that you just presented makes sense to me. But I'm surprised he doesn't accept it. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, I would like to move. Sorry,
No,
please.
just the last thing I wanted to say is that I think it really benefits us all to decide one way or the other, even if all we do is just toggle week to week, saying this week we're going to do it this way and this week we're going to do it that way. Even if that's the solution, I think getting it out of the meetings and deciding every single meeting seems that's just going to incite violence.
Okay, How about that? Let's intercalate one meeting with another. One meeting we do sub-ranking, the next we don't. And then after, let's say, 2 months, we gather information from that and take a final decision.
And hopefully Fractally itself will decide that for us, right?
Okay.
If we use that process.
Okay. So we
So-
can, yeah, I'll support that too. So moving to another subject, guys. This week we launched the Spanish-speaking Fractal. We created the community within the Fractal website, and we had our first meeting last night. Let me show you the link. I'll sending it right now to the chat. So we have onboarded already 9 people, around 9 people, and more are coming. This is pretty high level people. Their English is not really good, but many of them are physicists, developers, and pretty much as we have Russian people who don't speak fluent English, but are the hell of developers. We can onboard these kind of people. So we as a Fractal, as the Spanish-speaking Fractal, now have to decide whether to go with the EOS blockchain or with the new Fractally blockchain. And we'll have to make this decision within the next 2 months. So I would like to hear, not now, not today, but during the following weeks, what you guys have to say about it, your feedback, your opinions. Please try not to be tribal. Think that this is a target population of about 22 countries, which includes more than 500 million people, probably 600 million people. So try to provide the best advice, thinking about what is best for that people, for those people. And that's what I wanted to say. And also I want to give a shout out to Carlos, who is here. He has been a fundamental piece in starting this Fractal Spanish speaking community. So please, for the coming meetings, give him the accurate respect for this job, this huge job that he's starting today with me.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks so much, Jorge, for taking the initiative with the Spanish-speaking Fractal, and Carlos as well for helping out with this initiative, and then also joining us on these meetings as well. Much appreciated, and I'm looking forward to learning more about the Spanish-speaking Fractal and helping you guys out and growing mutual respect between the English and the Fractal and then the Spanish Fractal communities. That's awesome.
Yeah, regarding that Spanish-speaking Fractal, another thing, the way we're going to implement it is we're going to simplify the protocol the most that we can, so that it's easier to model and easier to understand. At the beginning, we are not going to allow a second round, as currently Fractal is doing. We are also not going to allow for teams, as currently Fractal is doing. And we are not allowing for self-ranking. So from the very beginning, that debate is just gone. So it's going to be a much more simplified version of the whole protocol that hopefully will allow us to gather simplified data and do simpler simulations, and hopefully that will feedback on this Fractal and the Fractal.
¿Cuál es tu preferencia?
Regarding EOS versus Fractally, I don't really know. I think it's something that really needs deep thinking about.
Mm.
Was there anything else you were going to say there, Perry? You had your hand raised for a while.
No, I was just responding to him in Spanish, having fun.
Okay, cool. That sounds good. Something I wanted to ask you guys is, have you guys ever looked at BBS network? So this is a social media application that is running on EOS, I believe, and it's created by a lot of the team at Bancor, who have a lot of experience. And it's basically like it says BBS is a network of user-owned message boards, and I've just been wondering. I kind of just wanted to just put this out there and see what people think, but I think that there might be potential for us to help organize our discussions after the meeting with this tool. I'm not sure, and I'd be curious also if Vlad has any thoughts, because I know they have some blockchain elements, and I don't know how easy or difficult it would be or worth it to integrate it. But like they have an upvoting system similar to that's similar to Reddit, and then like I don't know, like we've been talking about how to organize our time after these talks better. Before today's meeting, I actually wrote out a list of topics that I wanted to discuss today, and a lot of them we didn't get to because we got some other things, but this is one of the topics, and I was thinking about sharing it beforehand, but I was like, I don't want to overload and share too much, but I think maybe if we could somehow like use this tool, and then maybe if like communities could, or community members could like upvote, topics that they're interested in talking about, and perhaps we could somehow integrate the Eden respect into that at some point too. It's kind of just an early idea right now, but I think that obviously, like Jorge talked a lot about like more immediate feedback, which I agree with. And the Fractal team is building the Fractally social media app, and this is an existing app on EOS that is quite developed. So it might be of interest for the Eden Fractal community to start using this app in some way, and maybe it could help us organize our community as a whole while we're not in the meetings throughout the week. And then also perhaps we could even use it live while we're on the meetings, after the meetings, and then we could like live upvote, the next topic and stuff like that.
It looks interesting. Yeah, it's on the blockchain.
It's all running on EOS, I believe.
Mhm.
We really need a consensus process for all these things. I will suggest that we focus on this for the next meeting, and crack it until we have something really well developed.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know
agree.
where you guys are, but for me, it just seems like we should be kind of in orbit until Fractally gets their software organized. So it seems like these are interesting ideas, but are we not going to look closely about what comes out of Fractally in just less than 2 months now? It seems like we might be spinning our wheels a bit, but it's worth. I mean, I appreciate the exploration, but isn't that going to impact us significantly once Fractally comes out? We'll take a look. Now, maybe you guys have better visibility, probably Jorge, of what they're building. I don't really have a lot of details, so maybe you know that they're not building. Maybe you know what they're building, and you're augmenting to that. But I don't know what they're building. So my intuition says let's focus on the manual, what we can do manually, temporarily, until we know what they're doing, and then we can act with concrete actions at that point, which I assume is going to be late September. September 21 is what I understand.
Yep. Well, just to be clear, the release is coming out in September. They're aiming to do it before September 21, but I'm not sure. I don't think there's a date announced. That is like the first version where they're open sourcing things. That's certainly not the full version. I don't think that the Practically Social Media app will be out then, but I believe that they're releasing like the first batch of open source software, and some of it will be functional by that point, but they don't take months after that to finish everything. And then, yeah, so the BBS network, I don't know, like actually connecting that on chain, it's probably more difficult, but maybe if it's simple, we could do it. I figured this is an app, say it might be 6 months before the Fractally social media app is built and ready, or maybe a year, I don't know. and this is built, and so maybe we can use it without doing much work and just figure out something pretty simple. But that's also kind of the far out there idea that I kind of just wanted to just plant it in everybody's mind and see if you have any thoughts about it, maybe next week or whatever. And then I do think that like there's been some messages in the chat about next steps, and also what Jorge was sharing about the interim consensus process. So this is following in the footsteps of the Genesis Fractal. Genesis Fractal initiated this like, I don't know, 2 months ago, whereby people who get ranked level 6 in each group during each week can approve or deny proposals, and people can make proposals. So they shared a document or a Hive post that shared how that works basically, and that is how the Genesis Fractal decided on the logo and decided on there was one thing where somebody got their vote in late, and so they adjudicated that. So they made a couple different votes there, and I think that's very helpful for the community, for the Fractal community to have. It's basically borrowing what we already have from the Genesis Fractal, and it's already built. Basically, I made a post that I'll repost here. It's above, but I'll just repost it there, and I'd encourage everybody to check it out. Basically, it's just doing what they already did, but just modifying, because we have a smaller community, so whereby people who are ranked 4, 5, or 6 may vote on proposals rather than just people who are ranked 6, and people vote on Eden Consortium. Consortium is a tool for voting that Vlad built. Vlad shared the text also in the chat. He said, I agree with those. And Tadas also voiced his opinion, saying they thinks it's top priority, or the top priority. And so I think this is a simple step for us to take that will increase our capacity greatly to cooperate as a group and to make group decisions. The only thing that I think is holding us back is, one, I think it's best just to post it in the Discord chat like a week in advance or so people can have time to just think about it and then vote on it, rather than us just getting into and voting on it without sharing it with people who aren't at the meeting. And then 2, Jorge last week brought up the idea of having not just people who are ranked that current week, but people who are top in respect in total. I was thinking about that more this week, and I think it's definitely in the best interest, or I'm like 99.9% sure that's in the best interest of the community to do it on a weekly basis and not a total respect basis. So that's something that we might want to just make sure that we're in consensus with. But as of now, like, I'm happy to just like maybe I'll repost this proposal in the Discord, and then I'd be happy to approve it next week and get it set up for next week. And I think that's probably a good idea. But yeah, I'm interested to hear what people think.
Has anyone considered for the not important stuff, but the non-decisive stuff, the stuff that's not going to the stuff that's not going to persist in the network, to use a different voting mechanism for issues. Like someone presents an issue during the week, launches on Wednesday, you have until 24, 48 hours to respond, vote, and like staking on EOS, whatever respect you earned that past week determines the value in your voting for this issue during the week. It's a way for engaging. It's not a big deal. It's different. It makes us different than Genesis Fractal. And because I do recognize the value of the average respect for the council that eventually will take this place in important decisions. I just thought I'd throw that.
Thanks, Marco. Yeah, good points. I'll have to probably re-listen to this to absorb some of it better too.
My turn.
Yeah. Unless also, Marco, I'm sorry. I was also a bit distracted because I was reading Vlad's messages and working on a response, and so that was kind of my fault too. But I'm not sure if everybody understood what Marco said, but
Just a different way to interact, to use respect. You get 5 respect accounts for 5 votes, like staking on EOS, not for anything major, just for something that's not trivial, but something that's not going to persist. So not a governance change or a protocol change, but something the community brings up, you post it and give the community 24, 48 hours for anybody to respond. If you don't respond, you don't get it. But we can use it in chat. We could do it in Telegram. I think this change the logo or theme or starting topic for the next thing. And if you get the chance, vote on it with the power that you earned during the last week. You got a certain amount of time, and it helps the community engage during the week. I think Dan wanted that too with the high post there, trying to promote it. Just another way to use respect. It's really all engaging. Just a thought that popped in my head.
Yeah, thanks, Marco. That's a good idea. In many ways, I think. I mean, there might be some legal reasons why it's chosen that teams have governance power rather than like token holder vote. I believe in the Legal Status DAOs, Dan Larimer wrote about that, how like it can make it less of a UNA perhaps, but I'm really not clear on it. I'm not sure, but I would also like to use the respect more to provide power for people and so forth. I think it makes a lot of sense. I agree we should explore that.
We use it as opinions. We do have a lawyer that maybe if Leaf thinks his opinions are likes that have no real impact, that we can do whatever we want. I mean, you can't have a legal system that inhibits freedom. So I think maybe he was only talking anything that changes a smart contract. You mentioned a few times the smart contract with the legal stuff.
Okay, cool. Well, Jorge, I just gave you screen sharing permissions, so you can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So regarding the interim proposal, interim consensus proposal, I'm happy with what Dan and Vlad suggested, which is the same protocol that ƒractal team is following, except for one little detail. And if we go to the data, which I'll show you right now, there is this physicist, data scientist from the ƒractal team, which did this. He did this post, and he analyzed in this post the first 20 meetings of the data from the first 20 meetings of the ƒractal process. If you go to where is the link? I thought here it is. If you go to through the graphs and charts of this work, which is a pretty good work. By the way, this graph number 2 shows the effect of self-ranking. The blue line is self-ranking false, and the yellow line is self-ranking true. But regarding the interim proposal, consensus proposal, I want you guys to take a look at chart number 8, which is right here. This is a chart I showed last meeting. The vertical axis represents a measurement of how precise the opinion of each individual is. Well, no, not how precise, how imprecise, how noisy the opinion of each individual is. That's the vertical axis. And the horizontal axis is the number of meetings the individual has attended. So what we see is that the more meetings any person has come, even if his contributions are not big, if he has attended more meetings, his accuracy in assessing changes and his accuracy on what the consensus of the community will be is higher. So regarding the interim consensus proposal, I will do the following small change. People that has ranked 6, 5, or 6 can make a proposal, but people who have attended the most, let's say people who have attended more than certain percentage of the meetings, is the one who do the voting. That's the small change I'll do to this proposal. I don't know if I'm being clear.
Yeah, I think I get it. That's very interesting.
Yeah, it's clear to me too. I was just writing out some reasons why I don't think that's a good idea. I'm interested in exploring this because in a way it's more similar what you're proposing with the more final governance process, whereby teams with the most respect uh, have the governance power, and you have the 12 teams. And so that's like, teams who have been at a lot of meetings, have earned a lot of respect, they get that, and that makes sense. In some other ways, I think it's best, most likely, to do it as a Genesis fractal for several reasons. So, I mean, one, it's just been tried and proven as the Genesis fractal has done it so far, and it's worked out well, where Genesis fractal has made it so that it's not people who have joined the most meetings or received the most respect, but it's just people who rank number 6 that week. And also, so like one, it's been working out pretty well so far. It's only been a couple months, so we don't know, but it's working out pretty well so far. 2, there's a lot of really smart people who are doing that. Like I trust Dan Larimer and James Mard, Mike Manfredi, and all the great thinkers who have put a lot of thought into this. And so in many senses, it's easier for us to adopt what they're doing and not think about it too much. Although, of course, it's helpful to think about it to some extent sometimes. Hold on a second, Mark. I just want to make a couple points. So like, those are a couple of reasons, just going on what the Genesis faculty has done and their prior research. I don't know if they've shared much. There might have been a discussion about this previously, but I'm not sure if there was. We could potentially listen to past videos around like meeting 12 or whatever. There's another difference between the Genesis fractal and the Eden fractal. The Eden fractal is much older than the Genesis fractal community, and the Eden fractal isn't very totally representative of the Eden community. So like, as I brought up last week, like there's a lot of people who just haven't attended the Eden fractal meetings, but they're very much a part of the Eden community, like say Eve LaRose or Aaron Cox or Zach Gall are great builders in the EOS community. And so it's different in that sense from the graph that you displayed there, because a lot of people who know what they're talking about, who have been working in EOS for 5 years, who have been working with Eden for the past 1.5 years, which just haven't attended Eden fractal meetings, whereas that's not the case for the Genesis fractal. So it is helpful to empower people like say Eves, if he decided to join, so that he could have a vote as well, because he does know what he's talking about a lot with EOS and Eden. I mean, obviously. And then another thing too is the way of voting for people who are ranked 4, 5, or 6 that week. It accomplishes 2 things. So one, Jorge, you brought up an interesting idea last week that I kind of, I guess I pushed back on the idea a bit, because you brought up the idea of how like you could potentially vote during the rooms. And then I was like, well, we want to keep it simple and we don't want to overwhelm people too much. But also this process naturally achieves that in some way, because if people make a proposal during the week before or whatever, and then they know that whoever is ranked 4, 5, or 6 that week will have a vote on it, then they can vote on it in accordance to both the contributions, how much they value the contributions, and also how much they value that person's judgment in voting on that proposal too. And so by enabling people to vote every week on who will be the voters, then that gives people opportunity to express that vote during the weekly meetings. Whereas that's not as possible if you just do it via total amount of meetings ranked. And then lastly, I think it's probably best for the community to remain more agile and like remain less vulnerable. I don't know if that's the right word, but less vulnerable to incumbency, basically. Like if we have it where it's via the most meetings that you've attended or most respect that's totally been earned rather than on a weekly basis, then that essentially means that you're going to have the top 10 people or whatever who are going to be in governance control of the whole community. And then the community can change their vote over time, but it might take like, several months for new people to get enough meetings attended or get enough respect, or however you determine that, to be able to make a voting change. And so I think that it's best for the community to be more agile and enable it so people can vote every week 4, 5, or 6 rather than having to attend a bunch of meetings for those reasons. I hope that made sense. I can also share this in text if that would be helpful, because I know that was a lot.
Yeah, I understand your points. The thing I have with them is that they are still opinions. I have different opinions, both of them could be valid. But I would like us to look at the data. And the data, independently of opinions, is saying that people who have attended the most meetings, independently of their ranking, even if they rank really low, if they have attended the meetings, they have a better perspective of the system. And I'll give you a counter example to what you are saying. Let's suppose tomorrow that Brock Pierce comes here and brings a really big contributions for 2 consecutive weeks. He's a billionaire and he does some big contributions. And it happens that during those weeks, we are doing certain big decisions for the ƒractal. Will we allow a person that just did a big contribution that we value very much, but doesn't know the process, doesn't know the details, doesn't know who is doing what to make a decision on this ƒractal? I think that will be counterproductive. And I can give you more reasons, just as you did. So what I'll propose is that you put this on text on the Discord channel, and I can do the same. And then people think about this and spend some brain power on it. And then we may make a decision by next week.
Okay. Sounds good. I'm happy to share it in text. And then that might be more efficient. I'm happy to respond to if we want, but we have been gone for a while. But
yeah,
then
let's move on. Let's.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Yeah, and Vlad also just put up a vote to he put up a simple yes or no vote to adopt, asking the question, should we adopt an interim consensus process for Eden Fractal? And he says details of the process can be found here. So Vlad put up a vote to do the consensus process as I proposed it, with the weekly 4, 5, or 6. So I don't know if we want to vote on this and implement it next week, or if we should take an extra week to discuss and deliberate and share via text the different trade-offs of
I'd like to make a post. I'd like to make a post with this little variation, and we can just post them as alternatives so that people can vote.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. And then we'll either do it, I suppose we'll aim to implement it next week. And then if that's not possible, then we'll do 2 weeks.
Right.
Sounds good. Learning a lot. I'm learning a lot.
Likewise.
Anyways, well, guys, I have to
So,
go.
I
Oh.
like.
Thanks,
Jorge,
Jorge.
more
Thank you all.
specific.
Really appreciate all your work and help.
Later, Jorge.
Bye.
I will bring up that Eden and Fractal have always been different, objectives. One is governance purely, promises, and the other one is rewarding past contributions. I also believe the reason for the 6 for only voting on Genesis is expectations of larger groups. So I do like the 4, 5, 6 definitely. Jorge's thing of experience definitely has applicability in certain things. I wonder where it plays in blockchain like this. At least the way it's set up now, I think the importance of the ranking has to be upheld. And definitely, I like the idea of doing the double proposal. Propose, do we vote on this? So we give it a week of discussion, and then actually do the voting.
Yeah, those are all good points, Mark, and I agree. Thanks for
So
sharing.
we're all taking off?
I think that's probably a good idea, unless anybody has any other topics you want to bring up or anything else you want to say.
I'm ready to close her down. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
Yeah, thank you, Perry. Thank you, Marco. And thank you, Carlos. And thank you, Vlad. Really appreciate it, everybody.
Hey, Carlos,
Later.
I can help out with the Spanish speaking thing, even though I don't speak Spanish. I'd like to promote it. I'm promoting the other fractals, but they've already had official meetings. So if you have an official meeting, I'll put it in the newsletter. I'll contact them later. We've been having connections.
Okay, Cool. I guess I don't know if Carlos can hear you or something like that. But
It looks frozen.
it
Oh, there he is.
looks like he's having some internet issues there. And also you're muted, by the way, Carlos, so we can't hear you. I'm quite confused. He's
I'll
just
get
like,
him, I'll get him a Telegram. So
okay, sounds good.
that's me, guys.
Okay, cool. See you guys. Great meeting.